July 16th, 2026 to order. Members present this evening are alternate members Mark Cartier, Crystal Tenney, Wayne Boardman, David Woods, Gail Billett, Steve Friedman. For town staff, we have Director of Planning Dylan Smith and Town Planner Brendan Somerville, and our recording secretary operating from the clouds is Patience Horton. And I did not see any field changes submitted. Do we need to appoint an alternate now for a workshop, or?
That's up to you. I think it's up to the board if you want to do that.
Well, I was wondering if, since Pete's not here and we need a fifth, do
Yeah.
we just appoint somebody full-time?
So the select board
How
has
does
to
that
appoint the
Okay,
full-time member. So we were kind of instructed just to, until that happens,
okay, perfect.
alternate.
Yeah, I think that the planning board can make a recommendation to the select board to consider any of the alternates, assuming any of the alternates want to be full voting members for consideration to become a full voting member.
Okay,
And I think, is that the recommendation of the planning board?
So, will they then vote on that at a select board meeting?
They make the determination.
But we still need an alternate for tonight.
For tonight?
Correct.
Yeah, yes.
I think the chair, as of right now, is David
Yep.
right now, and it's up to you if you want to appoint an alternate or how you guys want to do it.
I think we should.
Alternate, okay. Crystal, I had you the last time, so Mark?
I may not make the whole meeting just because I've got this cough, so
Okay.
Crystal would
I
probably
will
be better.
Appoint Crystal for member this evening.
And thank you for sitting next to him.
Move down the end, I was gonna try and get Wayne and Crystal.
So now that that's out of the way, we can open the public forum. If there's any members in the audience that would like to speak on items that are not on the agenda this evening, please raise your hand. Seeing no hands and no other members in the audience, we will close the public forum without any discussion, I guess, and move right into the discussion portion. First up, we do have the York Conservation Commission to talk about the open space subdivision ordinance. If you guys would like to come up. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Does anybody need a paper copy of the ordinance that's got the red line?
If you have one printed out, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Courtesy of the records.
Oh, great.
I'll
Thank
say
you,
that's
Maggie.
nice paper.
Yeah.
Yes, I said the same thing.
It's like silky.
That's something you have at home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you.
All set.
Thank you. I'm
Here.
glad you're prepared.
I'm a paper person.
Plenty.
So I just,
Yeah, if you want to just
Start.
introduce yourself and we can get into discussion. Dylan, did you have anything to tee us up, or Brendan, with
Sure.
regards to this?
I
Have you
can.
worked on this with them?
Yeah, so if I think, was everybody at the joint session with the select board a few weeks ago? No, I don't know if you watched the video or movie of it, but the Conservation Commission was at that meeting, and there was discussion with the select board as well as the planning board to reevaluate the open space conservation subdivision application. As you know, I think it was either last year or the year before, I'm starting to lose track of time, I guess. The planning board looked at some of the amendments that the Conservation Commission had put together, and we worked through that through a workshop sessions, and then had public hearings and sent it to the select board, and then the select board, ultimately, there were some questions. There wasn't a majority vote to send it to ballot at that time, so the Conservation Commission took feedback from that process, I believe, and has tried to put together amendments that ideally will answer any questions or remedy any of the questions or concerns that some of the select board members had that would have sent it to ballot. So now they're here to workshop it with you and ideally put it forward to a May vote. And again, the select board did direct the Conservation Commission to work with the planning board and work through you guys to send something up to them. So this is kind of the beginning of a new process of evaluation of this ordinance. And I'll turn it over to Steph and Conservation and Mary to look at this.
Great, thanks. What I was hoping to do was to go through with you what each of the amendments are in this document, and they're red lined so they can stand out for better viewing. And also, there are a couple of additions that I want to talk to you about, and I'll do it when they come up, where maybe they might be placed in the amendment. A lot of that was from some feedback that we have gotten from the York Land Trust about some of the challenges that they are facing with applicants, not just now, but have for the long term in terms of them approaching them at the end of their submission completion. They've put everything together and they go to the land trust and they say, here's the land that's left over, you take this. And that's been very difficult for them because they often want the design to be different. It's much more conservation value oriented, and they want to make sure that the existing ordinance is enforced, which it is hard because the applicants sometimes like to ignore it and it goes through. So I'm hoping we can just have an open discussion about, should it be in an ordinance? Could it be like a checklist so that they're aware this is always going to happen? But I thought that would be good to talk through as well. So if you want to get started, the first one is on page 3. It's under conceptual design review, B, and it's number 5. Yeah, if you can tell me what pages it is for them. Get the first read. Okay, on here is page 2.
Page 2.
So here, right off the bat, is where maybe the stuff from the York Land Trust is where we would want to discuss it. The first one on 5, though, is this is where in the current ordinance, the applicant is supposed to request feedback from the Conservation Commission, and for the most part, that does happen. And Brendan's been very good in poking them to make sure that they understand that is one of the requirements. And so we just want to make it very simple to say the applicant will request feedback from the York Conservation Commission on all versions.
Could I just ask you a question for clarification from what you were just saying? It sounds like they're concerned that they give feedback, but then it's not being heard or used in a manner that they would appreciate. So when I read this about requesting feedback, that's just a step check, requested it. There's nothing, it doesn't sound very hard-hitting. Were they hoping with their conversations with you that it would be a little more hard-hitting?
This was just the Conservation Commission.
Right, so were they, when you discussed it with them and they were saying it was last minute and stuff, were they hoping that we were gonna put a little more teeth into the, as we go
No,
through
not on this
this?
one,
Okay.
in terms of them asking.
Right,
The problem is they will ask, and if we tell them something they don't like, they ignore it, and then they have a different submission they're going to do, so then they just submit a different plan, which we haven't commented on.
sure.
And sometimes we don't even hear about the fact that they have changed it and submitted a different open space design.
Right,
This one's not a huge problem, but it just really makes it more clear. You ask us for feedback on all the versions, end of story. And then during the meeting, if things come up that the Conservation Commission might know something about, or the York Land Trust, or any conservation group that may be here, that has an interest in the application you are reviewing, if you have knowledge that they may have something useful to add to the conversation when the applicant is talking, because the applicant can pretty much have anybody talk that they want to when they're sitting here. But if you think there is something of value that could come from some member of a conservation group, this just says that you can do it, makes it clear.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Now, the next one is where the big hitter is, and this is what we had prepared before we got this additional feedback from the land trust. And I think this is probably one of the most important areas to add teeth to the ordinance in terms of engagement with whoever the open space holder is proposed to be, because of the value that they can add. And we engage with the land trust on all applications that we can, and on other items as well, of course, for the betterment of the town's conservation value. But here, it would, if I can think back on some of the applications I've been through, it adds so much value if the space holder was here right up front, that they're here, that they have to be here, unless you allow them to do otherwise. They have to be here for the initial meeting. You won't review that application until you know they're going to be here. And so the applicant here is saying that they need to be involved in the process defining the open space, drafting the appropriate restrictions and controls, and presenting it to the planning board. And the proposed holder must be part of the presentation. I mean, that by itself goes a good ways to making it clear, make sure they're involved up front. But then it doesn't go on to say, well, why should they be involved up front? What else are they going to do? And based on the information that the York Land Trust emailed us today, and I don't want to take all of your time to read through the length of everything that they sent, but what I did is I consolidated into perhaps some type of provision to further add here. And so I'll read what that would be as an example. The initial submission for open space design review must contain documentation on the agreement between the applicant and the proposed open space holder of the following items: agreement on the open space design being submitted, stewardship funding to support perpetual monitoring, legal defense, and open space management, including costs of creation, review, transfer recording, and stewardship establishment, agreement on boundary marking, including survey, monumentation, and pins, agreement that the open space holder will review and improve the homeowners association's declarations, bylaws, and covenants. That pretty much covers the things that they pointed out that doesn't happen today, that they ask for, and it's a major battle, and there's bullying involved. And their feeling is, it's not our job to enforce the ordinance and enforce what we're being asked to do, even though some of that's going to happen anyhow. But if we put it in there, at least they would come knowing this is an expectation. And if they were involved doing all this before you saw the first application, just think how much time that would save you in terms of having to go back and tell them things that they should be doing.
Could I ask you to reread the provision on HOAs?
Yes, agreement that the open space holder will review and improve the homeowners association's declarations, bylaws, and covenants. The reason this is important is when the homeowners are infringing upon the conservation space and the land trust tries to enforce some type of remedy, the homeowners, sometimes they don't even know, but then when they try to enforce it, if there's nothing in their agreements, it's just like, now what do we do? they have an obligation to remedy, and the homeowners are like, well, we've never been told that we can't do this, and so then it ends up being a battle.
Do you think we could perhaps limit that last provision so that it applied to the HOA only with respect to the site that's going to be subject to the easement? The reason-
Sure.
The reason I raised the point is, in listening to it and trying to sit from the perspective of an HOA owner,
Yeah,
it sounds almost like a third party has a unilateral right to compel me to change my HOA docs. That doesn't sit well.
Yeah.
But if my HOA is contemplating a donation, I would think that the holder of that site should have every right for input into what happens to that donated property.
so something like saying, the homeowner's declarations, bylaws, and covenants that are relevant to open
With
space,
respect to the donated space
that are
or,
relevant open space
Yeah.
protection.
yes.
That's exactly what it should say, exactly. Great point.
Thank you.
Now, what they would be presenting then would be, I mean, it wouldn't be the final version, because it's not final until
Exactly, they're just,
planning board, but it's the draft of an agreement that includes all those things that are in there.
Yeah.
So you could conceivably have the developer come and say, well, I agree to do all this, but here's something I have a problem with, and I'd like to discuss it with the planning board. And we would know exactly why there's some difference of opinion, either the Conservation Commission or the holder, between the holder and the owner or the developer. But I think it could be problematic if we said that it had to be final before they even come to see us. See what I'm saying?
that's why this says agreement that they will review it
Yes.
and approve it, not that they have already,
Yeah.
but just that they understand up front.
No, that's,
And I don't think the applicants will actually have a problem with this. My experience is they're fine putting in whatever protections you want, because they're just in there and then they're out of there.
well, and it accomplishes one of what it sounds like is your overriding goals here is, and that is to front load this into the process rather than backload it.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Traditionally, if trees are cut down in the open space, for instance, what remedy is there? Is that like a violation of the site plan?
So after the easement is established and/or the property, and my desire is for these properties, the open space areas, to be owned in fee simple by a conservation organization. I'm just gonna put that out there real quickly, that
That's fine.
I think priority should be to that matrix anyway for this. But it depends. Obviously, I think it all depends on the language of the easement. Could be in violation of, the easement holder could go after them, and they could be in violation of the approved plan. Usually, these plans reference the open space or covenants and deeds as typically offered to you for review, and within those, it mentions the easements and all that. That's part of the final plan review. That's what I was just kind of trying to review right there as it relates to covenants and deeds. It's always specified during that final plan process, hence you guys review those, right? And the easement and all that, and we have town attorney review that, and it's referenced. So there's 2 points. It's either violation of the conservation easement, the conservation organization can go after and seek remedy, however that process unfolds, AG office, whatever, all kinds of stuff. As well as a town approval that they may be in violation of, maybe. And that's, we can offer more plan notes as standardized plan notes as practice that might be applicable, I think, for open space content, that would make it clear to everybody that it's just really clear, or in the findings of fact. I think those are easy things that can be either referenced in here that shall be noted on the final plan or shall be referenced in the findings of fact. It's called out and therefore everybody knows it, or references the covenants, the theme, untouched land, you know, all that, then, yeah, there's multiple points of remedy. There's a town remedy, violation, and then AG office, state, you know, violation of the easement itself. So I think there are multiple ways we can do it.
I know there's other types of easements that land trusts might have. Somebody's simply wanting to take their own property and put some of it aside for an easement. Similar language probably in writing up an agreement. But I know what's happened in the past is there was some construction going on and they inadvertently filled some land, you know, that shouldn't have been touched, that was on the wrong side of it. And generally what happens, the first step is the holder and the owner would get together, clarify it, make an agreement how you're going to restore it. There's different ways of restoring it depending on the damage that was done. It might just be clean up piles of debris, or it might be plant so many trees to replace the ones that, you know, that were cut in the wrong place. Quite often, it's a matter of, there was some confusion about lot lines between the, or it's not a lot line, but the line between the conservation and the non. But that would assume would be the same situation with a subdivision, is if there was some confusion or just carelessness, and they cut something or filled or did something else, then first step is for the holder to try to work something out, and then if that doesn't happen, it becomes a legal issue in court, which nobody really wants to deal with.
Yeah, and I would say that the town is always seeking remedy in that type of form as well before going through NOV. And we want, they would typically want to seek remedy of that situation.
Especially with shoreland or something like that.
Oh, yeah, you know, and before it all goes to court, right, to your point, same kind of process. But is there a way to make it clear that, you know, the town is also a player in enforcement? Perhaps. I kind of already think there is, but that's my opinion. We can get legal opinion on that too.
Yeah, if they were in violation of the site plan.
To me, covenants and deeds are reviewed and approved by you as referenced on an approved plan.
Yes.
Therefore, it's part of the approval. Therefore,
Don't
it's
go,
in violation of the approval if you don't follow those covenants and deeds. So that's how I kind of look at it.
no, that, where it's a subdivision, would it be the subdivision or the HOA's fault?
If
To your point of, or the individual that,
If the developer, I would say, we'd have to look at how the covenants are all spelled out, right? In the HOA agreements. It's typically would be the HOA. And the HOA would probably go after that member and say, hey,
put that back.
maybe they have ways in their agreements that say, hey, if you're liable, then, I don't know.
I may be wrong, but my expectation is all of this would evolve while the developer's still in control of the property and before there's a turnover to an HOA.
You know, when the plan, when the code office grants final occupancy and says, you know, everything is in place, all your, you know, everything is there per the approval, it's usually turned over by the developer to the HOA. That's
So
usually
it's easy to identify the responsible parties. I guess that's my point.
Yes.
Yeah, it could happen after
It could.
the homeowner
Yeah,
association
the
takes.
homeowners can get together and say, we want to do something good and let's reach out. Totally fine. Yes.
Well, I mean, once so many lots are sold, the homeowners association takes responsibility from the developer, right? Generally.
Usually depends on the agreements, yeah, and how they frame it.
To give you an example, I think one of the things the York Land Trust might struggle with is they'll have one of the homeowners is using the backyard for a parking lot for tons of stuff, putting the trailers backing into the wetlands, and they aren't responding. And so they would like the homeowners agreement to make sure, yeah, well, it's the responsibility of the whole HOA, not just the one person, as you were talking about, so that the HOA would put pressure on the one holder to clean up their act.
You can evaluate that more and
Yeah.
certainly seek legal opinion on it.
Yeah. Well, so it'd be good to see the language that the Land Trust was recommending in, in final writing, and see what it actually says, what you read today, what you just read to us from the Land Trust.
More than happy to, it's a whole email. I don't know if you want me to read the whole email or send it to you.
No, I mean, we'll want to see how that fits in with the rest of it, and
I can
just,
work it in.
work,
Oh, how it would fit right here?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Not to go case by case of offenses that may or may not have happened, but in that case was the lot that they were backing into the wetlands, was that owned by the land trust, or were they just I guess, are they holders of the easement? Aren't times the
Oh,
land's actually
this
donated?
particular example,
Yeah,
the town owns the easement.
right. I was just trying to think of an easier way for the land trust to seek correction.
Well,
So would it just
this-
go to code and say, hey, they're
Yeah.
on town property, they shouldn't be there?
Yep.
In my opinion.
Well, and Dylan's right. It's in the best interest of everybody for the land trust to hold the land rather than to hold an easement. Because then they can take steps to fix any problems because they own the land. Whereas if they just own the easement, they may have to go through somebody else, get the homeowners to fix the situation. Whereas if it's their land, it may be time sensitive. We've got to fix this now. And it may take months for the homeowners to respond if homeowners association owns the land. And really, as far as restrictions, there should be no difference from the HOA's point of view, whether they own the land or the land trust or whoever own the land, because the restrictions are the restrictions. It just means that the owner, if the trust owned the land, it would be easier for them to take care of issues. But again, the restrictions could be exactly the same. You don't cut anything, don't make any paths.
Yep.
You don't do anything that would damage it. So they should have no objection. There's no advantage for them to own the land. Because again, the restrictions that we would end up putting on it would be the same, no matter who owned the land. And the other thing is, it's not just your land trust. If a developer, wasn't happy with as we know, with one land trust, they could go to other land trusts. There's several different land trusts that own land in York right now. And it's not a big deal, but at a certain point, they're going to run out of land trusts if they don't find a way of seeking a compromise.
You raise another interesting question, Wayne, that I was going to hold off maybe, but again, the fundamental concept is whoever the landholder is involved early and is an integral part of the process. Hypothetically, what happens if that holder decides they can't come to an agreement with the developer and the developer seeks holder 2 or 3? Does that restart the whole process? What happens?
I can answer that. Is this after an approval?
No,
No, this is before an approval.
Well, it could
During the open space, then they're still in the process.
So they just lose time.
Correct.
Or the
So you're-
concept would have to
You
be
gotta think that the first phase, it's 3 phases, right?
Right.
The first phase is your conceptual design review, which deals with purely the open space and then the yield plan. And that's it. And then once you get that all understanding and under agreement, the conservation organization has signed off, you move on to the preliminary review phase, and that's set.
So could we change our process for review where that is the only item talked about at the first meeting? Like,
It's,
don't even bring the yield plan, I don't want to see anything else.
well,
Here
it
with
is
the-
part of that first phase, but it's at the end. It's work on the open space theme design first, and that's it. With
But
it. And then at the end, it's like, okay, this is what we're showing for a yield plan, i.e. how much density this area can hold.
But we've had problems with that in the past.
Yeah.
Well,
Because the conditions proceeding to get to the yield plan were so challenging, it slowed everything down, and it just made the whole process more difficult.
as far as, how do you mean? Like the open space theme and design was just
No,
not?
not open space theme and design, but remember, we've had the circumstance where to finalize the yield plan, there was
yeah.
substantial additional work the developer felt needed to get done so that they could effectively lock in the yield plan, the number of lots. Okay, and that meant they had to go do at soils, they had to look at water, that, all the other stuff
Change
that went
lot
on. Yes,
configuration.
yes.
So what would you suggest?
Yeah.
I kind of like, let's agree on concept and design, and let the burden of a yield plan fall to the developer later in the process.
I think that's kind of what we're saying, right?
I thought so too, but yeah, I think maybe it's just coming out. Maybe the processes could be better,
Bifurcated?
yeah.
Step,
how do I
in
wanna
other
say
words, step 1, do the conceptual plan. Step 2 is the yield plan,
Yeah.
not,
Yeah, yeah,
no.
maybe that just needs to be articulated better in the ordinance.
Okay.
I think we can, I think it can be, because it's very wordy, paragraphy, and developers don't want you to think about that. Developers want you to focus on this giant yield plan they gave you to get as many lots as they can get.
I'm familiar with the concept.
That's just how it goes. That's the development game, right? So focus on this, but
It's the shiny object.
yeah, but at the same time, I think we can articulate, in my understanding and reading of the ordinance, I think we can articulate it a little more clearly
Okay.
that step 1 is open space theme and design, period.
Okay. I like that.
We've
And
got,
then the yield plan and what is quote unquote reasonably achievable has to be determined. So,
yeah, but even in the conceptual one, the developer might have a difference with the land trust saying, no, the reason is so he can improve his yield plan, but he may have a good argument, he might bring in a wildlife biologist who say, keeping this corridor open would actually be better than the plan that you have. And, we could decide, or we could hire our own biologists and if we wanted to, but I think things should be largely agreed upon before we talk about yield plans. Because he could, he say, well, ordinarily I could get, with this many acres, I could get this many lots, but because the conservation area is bumping onto this part of it, I can't get that extra lot that I want. Well, it could be just, that's too bad.
Too bad, so
That's the way
sad.
it is.
Have a nice life, yeah.
But they'd have to come back with a really legitimate reason why they'd want to change the boundaries from that which that the holder is proposing.
well, I think a lot of it too depends on the layout they want to do even after the open space.
Agreed.
And the important thing to understand is that lots can be as small as 20,000 square feet. And the developers typically don't want to go that small because they see market value in larger lots, right? And that's what they believe. But a lot will yield a certain amount based on the base density calculations in our ordinance. and we have to verify that base density, right? And then we kind of look at the reasonable achievable, well, how many vernal pools, how many shoreland, what you're doing, you're doing bridges over that, you know, we have to go through that process of understanding what is quote unquote reasonably achievable in the ordinance. And then usually come up with that yield, but it's important to know, like, developers can shift their design to smaller lots and still get the unit count. It's up to the board to kind of hold to that. Once you figure out your open space theme and design, and you get that count of 60%, you know, you blocked off an area, and you figured out that, oh, this is the area, period. Okay, well, how many, you know, you have this many units, can you fit it in that envelope? Does it have to be an acre? No. Could it be 30,000 square feet lots or whatever, you know? Then, yeah, and then you come into soils and septic and a lot of these things. There's other things that go with it, but it's just part of the game. I don't know. It's part of the process that you have to kind of go through to get there, knowing that typically developers want to get as many units as they can.
Yeah, yeah. And we've had developers who could have done multifamily buildings and gotten in a smaller area, but they chose not to. They wanted bigger lots.
Market factors being as they may, I'm sure they do the calcs, what they're coming up.
Okay.
So, trying to get the yield
Your
plan
question.
first, we kind of do that, but the problem is it changing along the way, and the open space holder not really being involved with that tweak. Is that the
Yep.
thing we need to fix?
Yeah, and I think we can codify the process a little better.
Okay.
Now, the next one is in the yield plan submission, number 3 and 4. And here, it just really, it's actually consolidating the two of them to say that if house lots are not served by public water or public sewer or combination thereof, lots shall show workable locations of home septic systems and water wells and the associated protective well radiuses. Each lot shown in the yield plan shall indicate that the soils will support the shown locations of a home well and septic system, and the yield plan must be certified by a Maine licensed professional engineer as such. And since writing this, I also did some research online, and now so I'm accounting to think that the things that I've read are correct, about other towns and what they do, and from a conservation point of view, what really should be appropriate to do a yield plan. And from reading all this, I would like you to consider just adding something that would say that you would require some building envelopes. You can require that now because you can request whatever you deem reasonable to know if the yield plan is reasonable. And it could be you request things differently for growth area versus non-growth area, or how much value there is in the land in terms of conservation, the number of vernal pools and wetlands, the amount of ledge, habitats, all those conservation values. But you know you get so much pushback from developers. It's not fun. So here you're saying you want to know the workable location of the home, the well, and septic. But just looking at that, you also want to make sure you know, well, where are all the boundaries and the lines for setbacks to wetlands and vernal pools, and where are the ledges, and does the road grade, and even though you can do that today, would it be easier for you, and put it right up front to the applicant, just include all the information that comes with a building envelope?
One of the arguments made against that by a developer, the yield plan assumes that the entire lot can be built on, except the unbuildable areas. And that doing this kind of of, uh, of testing and examination would require getting into the conservation area and doing damage by itself. Just the mere fact of doing this could potentially damage the land that will, eventually we know would be in the conservation area.
Well, I've been told that, you know, just testing the soil for septic doesn't really do much damage. And the ordinance is only requiring that the soils be tested for the septic. So they really shouldn't be disturbing any of the land. We're just walking out there, and I understand it's putting the stick in, and unless I'm missing something. We're not asking them to go down and drill wells or look for is the well. It's just, this is where the well will be placed without any kind of testing at all.
I think I'm not educated in septic design, but I think they can pretty much make a septic system that can go on top of the earth and not need the special silting soils, I guess. That would pretty much be already digested by the time it came out. So as far as the yield of it, they could engineer one to work even in poor soil quality, perhaps.
Then they should put that in the yield plan along with where's the home, where's the well, where's the radiuses, where are all the setbacks, all of those items.
I think that's a lot of engineering on the front end that logically should follow a yield plan based on the preliminary work the developer does to see what will fit. It's expensive to do a building envelope. It takes a lot more work.
And
So
again,
does a building envelope, this is my lack of knowledge, include more than saying, this is where we think we'd put the house, this is where we think we'd put the driveway, the well, and the septic, whether it's above ground or not?
So building envelope is more precise generally than house, septic, well.
So if we were to say, let's get rid of the word building envelope then and say, and I think you should be requiring this already, is in addition to what we have today, here's the house, here's the well, here's the septic, showing the radiuses, showing the wetlands, the vernal pools, the ledges, and how, just what the distances are. I mean, from what they are submitting now, that's not a lot of work because AI will do it for them in 5 seconds. They just don't want to show it a lot of times.
I'm not that familiar with the work that has to go into that either. But, I don't know, Dylan,
On a yield plan, you want to see it? So on a yield plan, you'd be showing, you're showing conventional lot. And usually on a conventional lot, I mean, our ordinance does kind of say like, okay, can you do, what are the soils, right? You can look at shoreline setbacks, we can look at all that. What are the soils that would allow for a septic, right? If it's perking too high, then that's a problem. Well radiuses and protective well radiuses, within reason, yeah, where could they be placed, assuming it's not on public? We require that as well. A building envelope, though, just a building envelope, I can't really recommend showing, because you could do, for instance, our standards go as low as 190 square feet. They could be tight, and not to say that that's usually what developers are going to come and do a tiny home, but it's kind of like, yeah, we can't really say, hey, put your building envelopes there, because they could be as small as, what is a reasonable building envelope? We allow 190 square feet. I can't really justify and say, we could look at bedroom count, and obviously that takes a septic size, leach field size and stuff like that, but that,
do we?
It's really, that's a tough one. I'd have to really
Right,
analyze that.
nowhere in the yield plan do we mandate a bedroom count.
No, we don't.
Not to throw,
Usually it's like 2 bedroom, 2 to 3 bedrooms is usually the standard for quote unquote reasonably thought of, but it's not a requirement. If for instance, hypothetically, if I was a developer, I might push back on that. I might be developing tiny homes I might develop 800 square foot homes. I don't know, or a combination thereof.
with the new changes coming
Yes.
down the pipeline, the minimum lot size would be 20,000 square feet and not sewer and water, or 10,000?
No, that's it. So the changes really only have to do with the growth area. So we have to evaluate how it relates to the growth area and where you have water. And sewer, yeah, and sewer. Yeah, it's still 20,000 square feet, but if you have water, I think it says, my outline here.
10,000 if you have sewer and water outside the growth area, 20,000 if you have if you're outside the growth area with no sewer and no water.
No, it's,
The 20,000 is only inside the growth area. Outside of the growth area, then whatever standard the town has remains.
that's correct. So if a lot is outside a designated growth area and in an area served by public water and public sewer, a municipal ordinance may, so this is the water and sewer, 10,000 square feet, and 2 may not require more than 10,000 square allotted for the first dwelling unit, or 20,000 for a duplex. If a lot is in a desert, then it just,
Yeah, but it was talking about outside the growth area, no sewer, no water.
yeah, you can't.
You can't go lower than 20,000.
20,000, yeah.
State minimum for septic systems.
That's what we allow anyway in our open space subdivision ordinance.
To get
Lots
the
can
yield,
be 20,000 square feet,
Right.
to get the yield,
when you don't have sewer.
So what I'm saying is that
No.
well, that's what I'm saying.
it's not changed by the new laws.
The yield plan calculation.
Only in the growth area it will change, potentially. Yes, it will change.
Right. The yield plan would need to have the existing zoning standards. So if it was in Res 1A, it'd be 2 acres.
Okay.
Yeah, the densities that remain the same outside the growth area.
But I mean, he's asking about the yield plan.
Oh, yeah. You gotta follow those densities as permitted.
Because if it was 20,000 square feet, then
Those yield plans would be huge.
the yield would be more than what the developer would typically even want to build, so.
Yeah, the growth area will be the nuanced
Okay.
thing we have to evaluate.
We're still trying to figure the whole 1829, 2173 out, so.
And we'll have a discussion about that pretty soon.
Yeah.
So again, if the 20,000 square feet is current for outside growth area, no sewer and water,
Buildable.
yeah, buildable land, we're not, in this, the developer can't come and say, well, this is a yield plan, and every 20,000 square foot lot, according to the new laws, could have at least three dwellings on it.
Not outside of the growth
Not
area.
outside the growth area.
So just a plain old 20,000 square foot lot outside the growth area,
Outside the growth area, the density is the base zoning requirement.
and that isn't changed by,
1829 or
1829.
2173.
No, because then they would be saying all of town shall allow for a 20,000 square foot minimum lot size. Which, maybe they'll get there, but it's not there yet.
okay.
Just saying, I don't,
We will have to talk some more when it comes to in the growth area, open space conservation subdivision.
yeah, that's where it gets fuzzy about, well, if it's in the growth area, then maybe it has to be multifamily units in a unit.
Yeah.
And that's where you get the open space design out of it,
And
which is allowable. In the growth area, we allow multifamily units and you would get the unit count, but it would have to be designed in a way that still provides that 50% open space.
Right.
Okay.
Do you
So
remember what
on-
you thought was that you were gonna throw a wrench in things?
I was bringing up 1829.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get too sidetracked with it, but
So if we just leave the language as it is written here,
Yeah,
would it be, would you say that if you got a yield plan with this information, but they had omitted showing you the wetlands and the vernal pools and the ledges and all the information you need to determine if it's reasonable, you would then turn around and go back to them and say, you haven't provided all of this information that we need to make a determination?
yeah. that-
We've done that
That's
before.
required.
Yeah, and,
But would you rather do that than add it in here?
well, they're gonna have to do that anyway to determine what's the most valuable area to conserve,
Yes.
right? Most of that will be known, certainly wetlands and setbacks.
So it's easy for them to add it to the yield
Yeah.
plan, but if they don't,
Yeah,
It's really important, I think this section of the yield plan submission in letter E in the ordinance, you know, it says, during the conceptual design review phase of the application process, yield plan will be reviewed by the planning board after the open space design and conservation theme has been approved by the planning board, as specified above. After. Don't let them push you around. That's all I can say. I know it's hard, though.
it is. Well, it isn't. It isn't when the application goes as planned, but sometimes things change between meetings, and
In an agreement that was supposed to be that never was.
Right.
Stuff like that, yes, I understand. These things can be fluid, but
right.
but if the process is followed, then I don't think it's on the planning board's fault.
Right. And there have been times where was more land given during a review to the easement side to fix.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe go the other way. There was like parking concerns,
Well,
and they
yeah,
ended up giving more.
there
land.
was one fewer lot on the 103 one, for instance.
That's
right.
They had to pull back from 8 to 7 lots simply because of the wetlands and the vernal
Vernal
pools.
Yep.
They tried, but
Yeah. Okay.
the next one's down below under F. And this is where the applicant's going to put forth an argument that the ordinance shouldn't apply. And we've added here, the applicant's demonstration must include a statement from an experienced conservation group that explains why the property does not have conservation value that warrants their protection. This is really to speed things up. I mean, I've seen a case where they've made arguments to the planning board, and the arguments themselves are actually arguing why it should have conservation value, and it would be, I would think it'd be so much easier for everyone involved if you had a conservation group would need to be involved and make that determination and give you the information.
I'm thinking a typical argument for this is it would be a small conservation area, and it would be surrounded by development, and it would not be contiguous with any other conserved land. And generally, land trusts don't want to mess with anything less than 5 acres. It's just not worth the
Exactly.
trouble. Or it could be more if it's just, yeah, so those are the kinds of things that we might see.
I'd be comfortable with, instead of must, it is recommended. Like recommended to have a letter of,
Yep.
I'd probably put it to the 1, 2, 3, 4 below. Planning board shall consider the following and add it as a listed item.
Where are you now? Where are you? Where are you talking?
take it out of F and add it to, like,
Add it
Number
to
5.
1, 2, maybe a 3 or 4 as a listed item that the planning board shall consider the following and add it as a listed item. Would be something like demonstration, a statement from an experienced conservation group or something to that effect. That explains why that property does not have conservation value and warrant their protection, something
Well,
that's not.
Number 3, perhaps?
Yeah, it would be a new number 3 or a 4, whatever. It's
Or just
in the
add it-
list.
Just add it to number 3. The open space conservation design would not meet the intended purpose specified. And
And
this is a further explanation of that, and that it should have,
but you said David must, what was the term you said?
I said it is recommended that.
And is recommended to provide a statement, yeah. It's a little softer, it doesn't carry as much weight, but it's still there, the planning board could consider. And if
Right.
the applicant provides it, it just gives more weight to, you know, your consideration as a board.
Or the planning board may request.
Yeah, something to that effect.
That way it's not a obligation, but if the board is like kind of split on whether we think it really is, we can
like that.
reach out.
I like that.
Or if they come with it already in hand, smoother process for them.
Yeah, for the waiver
Right.
process. It's never a smooth, we dealt with it once.
well, it happened in that development in York Beach,
Yeah, during COVID, right?
yeah, that
It was
the,
awkward.
you know, the conservation organization said this is really not, even though there was a vernal pool on it, it was too small and too,
To manage,
yeah,
really?
yeah, the one off of Short Sands Road.
Yeah. Yeah, I think playing with that. That's it.
Yep, I got it.
But I think if they're gonna make an argument, it's to their benefit to either bring an expert or the organization itself.
Right.
And in some cases, the organization would say, we agree, we can't use this, it's not a value for us.
Yep.
Okay, and down below in 4, we've proposed an addition here that says if the open space conservation subdivision ordinance is not entirely waived, then all the provisions of the ordinance must be enforced without waiver on the entire parcel submitted for development unless the holder of the open space can demonstrate that allowing adjustments will increase the conservation value of the plan. This way, this sort of forces the applicant, if they want these waivers, and the argument is it increases conservation value, well then, let's have your open space holder make that demonstration for you.
But what if there was, so if the open space conservation subdivision is not entirely waived,
We've done that in the past where it was waived, but all the requirements were still expected.
50%
Yeah,
open space?
I think it was because it was a elderly housing subdivision, maybe. We
Which
requested
one was that?
Route 1, Route 1.
Well, they had the Kittery Land Trust, right?
Right, so it was, but they wanted the density bonus of elderly housing, I believe. I could be wrong. I remember waiving something, but still expecting the,
In that regard, they had to do open space and follow the elderly
Right.
density standards for.
but there was still a large conservation effort, so it was worth
Yeah.
doing that.
It was.
It was.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Got a little too comfortable here.
What would be another example of reasons we would have for waiving open space conservation subdivision?
The whole thing or a provision of it?
A provision of it, maybe?
Well, let's say that, given it would be a large parcel, and to get to all of the lots through one road would require it going over a wetland, but you could avoid that by having 2 roads, and the proposed open space holder is fine with what they are going to have for their open space with that design. That would be a reason.
When the common sense isn't
Yeah.
allowed in the ordinance, this gives us that leeway.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that.
That makes sense. I read it as like an all or nothing, but I knew that there was more logic behind that I wasn't aware of, so that makes sense.
Yeah. There was another case where there was an open space, but it had been recently clear cut. And that made it of limited value, given where it is and given that it was clear cut. But there might have been, it still might have been worthwhile putting in open space. Maybe not going through everything there.
I think the language, though,
Retooled a little bit.
Yeah.
needs to be retooled, and I think it needs to actually be spelled out differently in F. Because the way that's kind of reading now is saying the whole thing,
Yeah. Like
not
all
a
or,
portion thereof, or
yeah.
pieces of it, and we have to be careful what that means.
So you could state items may be waived if the conservation value is.
Yeah, we have to be, well, we'll have to, I guess, maybe Conservation Commission can think about how, what that means, because there are a lot of aspects in here, right? And
Right.
standards, and I guess you're trying to maintain the open space theme and design, therefore you can waive certain other aspects of it. What are those aspects? Is it setbacks? Is it buffers? Is it?
Oh, yeah.
What is it? Is it, what are they? You gotta be careful with that. It's easy for me to just say the whole thing, because then it's like, okay, then you're not, well, what about that section? Or what about that section? So
Right,
I
because
think you gotta tease that out a little more. It's a more loaded term.
yeah, but what we don't want is to force the developer to put in 2-acre house lots.
But I could see, to the examples we talk about the road, I could see why you would say, okay, we'll grant a waiver to the buffer requirements, because it actually protects more open space.
Yep.
And how you've aligned the houses or something protects more open space. That's where I could see, like, and it's more on the dimensional standards, I can see it being more applicable. So you can still get your open space theme and protection is still integral and an important aspect of the design, but the layout has to change a little bit. And the board can maybe have that authority to change that layout or setbacks or whatever to make it work better.
Could exclude buffers and just a couple
Maybe,
little
maybe don't
things.
go all the way, maybe go up to, like, I think it depends on the side, fronts, I think it's easier for me to work and to think about in those.
So it may be more
Confines, but-
beneficial to infringe on a buffer that is nothing of value in exchange for more land somewhere else.
Yeah, but that has to be really thought about during that waiver
Yeah,
waiver request. You have to really kind of focus on it and what that means. I'm not against it, but I think that this just has to be kind of teased out a little bit more.
Yeah, we had been running into issues in the past where the language made them do X, Y, Z, but it was like, this is actually hurting the value or causing an adverse condition.
I think that's really appropriate for the designs, the dimensional standards. It's more appropriate in there, I think, you really get a really positive outcome on the open space theme, but you have to be lenient maybe a little bit on some of the setbacks or buffering and stuff that I could see being a good thing to waive. And then we'd have to look at some of the other aspects within the ordinance itself.
And should it go under F or could it go under another section? Because F is pretty much just trying to opt out of open space subdivision requirements versus being able to,
B, which is requirements.
I always looked at F as that's the big provision that allows the developer to opt out of this entire ordinance.
right,
7.6 and the open space
yeah.
requirements of 7.6, open space, the design, everything, the whole section. The one I was saying to bring the applicant demonstrate must include a statement from, that would be like a sub point that would come down. And then number 4, I think, the proposed number 4 by the Conservation Commission really needs to be, I think, honed in a little bit more with some additional prerequisites or whatnot, or codification of what a waiver, what it means to be not entirely waived. What does that mean?
Yeah, I didn't know if that should live in 762, because that would be waiving those requirements, not the requirement of the open space subdivision.
Well, that's it, right. Is it the standards of open space that you're, I don't know. There's many ways you gotta kind of look at it, I guess.
Yep.
Because you can waive all kinds of aspects of it if you just say not entirely waived. For me, it's easy to focus on the dimensional stand, the buffering requirements and whatnot to gain that design, open space theme and design. If you want to start then waiving the open space percentage requirements, 60% goes to 50 or something in the, non-growth area. Well, is that something the board wants to consider? Or I don't think the Conservation Commission would be necessarily in favor of those type of allotted waivers, but to me, we have to codify what can be waived. If it's not the entire ordinance, what are those sections? Without specifying that, it seems like it could be very confusing, I
Yeah.
think.
I'd almost limit it to the development area too, not in the,
Yeah, maybe not the open space, yeah. And that would be something we have to figure out, and I think the Conservation Commission would probably be more in line with that. But it would be something in line with looking at, like I said, those dimensional standards in D, was it 763? And honestly, 763 might just be the development standards.
okay.
I think that might be the dimensionals, yeah, 763. I think that's where it would probably lie and fit the best. And that has to do with the roads and the setbacks and all that stuff.
Yep.
Which gives it does give some maneuverability for the developer to work with, I think. But it's gotta be a well-drafted waiver and reasoning of why, and I think that also has to be codified.
Right. And I don't want it to be a constant,
I'm asking a waiver,
yeah, all the time.
with no reasoning. You have to codify it, like, yeah, and have some standards as to how you guys would review the waiver
Yeah.
and grant it or not.
It's almost something that the appeals board might have to give a variance for. They'd have to plead their, because if it's constantly,
Or a
oh, well,
special
we need this
exception.
and this is our reason.
Well, that's one of the reasons why the thought was to have it has to come from the open space holder.
Oh,
That way it's not gonna happen all the time.
right.
We'll have to play with
Yeah.
that section a little bit more, I think, Steph.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, here's a situation where there might not be an open space holder. If the reason for the waiver is they couldn't get an open space holder.
Yeah, that portion of the,
For good reasons.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't valuable enough. So,
and that's where you'd be looking for deed restrictions or something to
yeah,
still keep open space an integral component to the
Yeah.
design, but maybe not as integral in some areas.
Okay. I like the concept of it, just,
yeah. Again, you don't want to put this on a holder of an open space who isn't there yet. And you don't want them going to all the work of examining the property, knowing that it falls outside, their requirements, to only come back and demonstrate why a change is better. So we'd want some justification, but I wouldn't put that on the holder necessarily. It may be the holder if we're still having a holder, but we're waiving other provisions. And that may be the more likely situation.
So just, if we limited it to road placement, setbacks, and buffers, and maybe lot configuration dimensions,
Yeah.
then that could, they would say, if they want to change that to have increased conservation value, the open space holder should be part of it. So if you limit it to just that, would it be okay for it to be presented by the open space holder?
Or maybe we could just say, unless the holder of the open space, or if there is none,
The
a
applicant may.
qualified conservation scientist or something like that. Demonstrating that the allowed adjustments would increase the conservation value of the plan. They can hire a wildlife biologist to say this is a good reason for this, because there is no open space holder. Ideally, you'd go to the open space holder first, but if there is none.
If
because of
there's
the
no
waiver-
open space holder, then the whole thing is waived.
Well,
Depends on the theme
we
they
might
throw out
want,
there.
we might want an open space that isn't, again, I'm going back to the Short Sand Road.
The HOA owns that still?
Yeah,
They were, and they were gonna hire a monitoring group to make sure the open space and provide report, all this, but, you know, at the same time, we can put the plan notes that say this area as defined in the plan shall be left. And then there's an enforcement mechanism for the town to say, get that fill out of there that violates, but it's upon us, the town, to monitor. That's the key.
this is unlikely to happen outside of the growth area, I would think. It's only when you've got the limitations of a denser area and less large conservation tracts.
Yeah, I think we can evaluate that
Yep.
a little bit.
Okay.
And the next one is down in density. Number 1, we added a simple statement that says, in no case will the approved number of dwellings prior to application of any density bonus be greater than the number of lots.
What page you on?
Page 7, you did have one on page 5.
Yeah, bottom of 5.
The open space holder must provide written
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, this one we added a statement, the open space holder must provide written documentation for submission to the planning board that shows they understand and can meet each of the capacity and enforcement requirements.
You thinking of a particular case in mind?
I mean, I think it's a good ad, but, you know, given the other things that were front-loading up front with the open space holder having to be involved, maybe you don't need the addition. But I think it's a good statement for the applicant.
Was there a concern when including this sentence?
The concern is if it's not a known land trust or conservation group that is the proposed holder, they may say, yeah, great, but they may not understand what's actually involved unless they sit down and read this through and understand all of the requirements in terms of not only the monitoring, but the enforcement. And what you're trying to make sure is that they understand how large their role is going to be before accepting it.
Well, if they'd already made it this far, and we approve the open space plan, I mean, improve the conceptual part of it.
with a holder.
Well, I asked that question because in the very beginning, you are proposing that on page number 2, you proposed, literally says proposed holder must be part of the presentation.
And that's why I said this might not be relevant
Okay,
now.
so then if they're part of the
we enforce
presentation,
that.
I think that just qualifies that they're demonstrating
Mm-hmm.
that they understand
Yep.
what they are agreeing to and what the terms are.
And you could put some similar verbiage in upfront
Yeah.
that's related to this sentence too.
Oh, actually, I mean, you could tack this
But they have the
behind that.
right, you
Just like
can.
cut and paste.
But ideally, before you get to this point,
But,
it's
yeah.
already established and
Right.
everybody's moving.
Right. Let's, crazy scenario, if the land trust dissolved for some weird reason, what happens to all the open space subdivisions? If,
Geez, I've never actually seen that. It would be kind of, the approval is still the approval, right?
but it's hinging on,
I think.
An
it would have to
entity-
be, probably the Attorney General would get involved, and it would probably have to find
Fall to the
another
state, yeah.
holder.
qualified.
I think
I
so
just-
too.
It kind of puts the HOA or the development on the hook for something that's not their doing.
Could, I guess. I've never heard of that happening,
Okay.
but
I think there's probably legal safeguards for
we
something.
can find out. If that's a
was
question the
just
planning board
thinking the
wants,
same
we can
thing.
always
Yeah, I
have
think,
legal answer that
I
question.
think in order for a land trust to be incorporated and to be in business, I'm sure there's got to be some,
They're recognized by the state, and the state, there's gotta be mechanisms there. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't answer your question, but I think that might be illegal, just for if something blows,
Yeah.
like.
Well, it just stinks to get
what happens.
to this point, whomever the holder is, and then for them to back out after there's agreement and forward progress.
Yeah.
It's almost, not that I'm looking for protection for the developer, but
Yeah.
once, because we get thrown into that situation potentially, and now they're scrambling to redo the open space theme and all that.
If a land trust or something goes belly up or something, or, that's one thing. If a conservation holder is deemed not something by the state, that's a different thing. So if a land trust or some, just whatever, blow, and the approval happened, and the houses exist and everything's going,
Yeah.
I would think there's state mechanisms there for enforcement of the easement or turning the easement over to a similar qualified organization, but I just don't know that mechanism, if something like that happened.
Too rare for,
I think
to
it's.
be concerned.
yeah, I think it's rare enough to.
All right.
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
I mean, it's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Well, even if it wasn't a land trust, if it was a qualified,
Yeah. Boy, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't many others. U.S. Fish and Wildlife owns easements, owns land under conservation, like the Rachel Carson and others. But I don't, yeah, I think it's probably not worth worrying about at this point.
I think we can still safeguard, I think, if that were to happen, I think the open space is still safe from development. It's just the mechanism of enforcement on that
Right.
would be different,
Right.
because the plan is still in place as protected open space.
Yep.
So you don't lose that,
yep.
but you have to work out the other details, That's,
Okay.
So that item that we just discussed, you can probably strike for now.
Yes.
since-
And the next one is where, in no case will the approved number of dwellings prior to application of any density bonus be greater than the number of lots in the approved yield plan. I mean, you could say it goes without saying, but it can save some time and some energy if they understand that up front. I know you've had an applicant in the past that actually came in with a yield plan with less lots than they intended to develop and insisted that you just approve it. which was hard to really understand, but it, then it caused it to be redone. This just makes it crystal clear up front what the meaning of a yield plan is.
Okay.
Well,
Right.
that kind of means there can be no density bonus, which we already have a density bonus in there, right, for affordable housing?
We do. We do. Okay, so, be greater. Yeah.
Because the yield plan shows what you can have prior to the density bonus.
Right.
Well, this is, it shows based on conceptual design and the density standards for net buildable development standards, the calculations. However, what we try to incorporate in the ordinance is if you, developer, provide whatever it is, 20% affordable housing, workforce affordable housing, then we'll grant you something beyond what our standards require, which would go beyond the yield plan, because they're providing those, that need, or,
Yeah.
and therefore we'll give you a bonus unit or two, or whatever, I can't remember what it says.
So would it exceed what the yield plan states, or would the yield plan include the bonuses?
No, the yield plan would show, if they were going for one though, if they were going for a density bonus, I don't think they would necessarily have to show that in the yield plan unless that was, they show the yield plan based on net developable density, reasonably achievable, period. So this is what you can get. Oh, and we're gonna go for a workforce affordable housing standard here.
2.5 times?
To think about that. We'll have to look at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bonus if it wouldn't conceivably be greater than the yield plan.
Right.
Because they can get all market rate based on the yield plan. It would mean their affordable housing would be a detriment rather than a bonus for them.
Wouldn't LD 2009 require us to give the 2.5 times?
In the growth area on
In the
water and
growth area.
sewer.
So in 2003.
Oh, 2003, yeah. 2.5 times, but it's still growth there. Water and sewer is a big driver on that one.
That it's always going to be the base density.
It's always
that you
base.
multiply from.
Yeah.
And it would also have to be 51% too, right, to qualify for that.
We'll get into that later.
But I mean, for this situation I'm talking about.
It depends on what the developer is stating. It's 51% if they state they're doing an affordable housing, but we'll get into those
Yeah.
parameters later.
With LD 1829 and other fluid requirements, state, et cetera, as those change throughout the years, would this proposed addition wording, how can we make this still apply in like 2 years, 3 years, et cetera?
The density bonus, you mean? We have to evaluate, this will be part of the evaluation for the May changes. We
Yeah.
have to look at how this standard, and again, it would be more applicable to where there's water and sewer, less so where there's not.
Okay.
But we have to evaluate, it. That's all I can say. I can't offer you what that means. Certainly outside the growth area and the rural areas, this is still applicable.
Okay, because I read the words
But-
in no case, but then if that's outside of our control, in some instances in the future, to even enforce this or not enforce this.
I would just add, though, the yield plan is a yield plan for a conventional subdivision. And so whatever that conventional subdivision is in current day with all of the current laws would then have to go into what the yield plan is. So it would always be staying up to date with all current laws.
Yeah, right now, the density bonus is that it's 20% above which is indicated in the yield plan. That's what a density bonus is, it's
Yeah.
what's yielded.
Yeah, so,
So,
this wouldn't work with that density bonus,
Why not?
because a bonus, means if you got 10 houses and you ask for a density bonus, it's gonna be 11 houses, say. And it's based on the yield plan,
This says you do a conventional, and the conventional says you get 10. Then, on top of that, you apply the density bonus if they're going for one.
right. So that means instead of 10, which is what the original yield plan says, there would be X number more lots allowed.
Right.
Which
It
would be
says,
greater
in
than.
no case will the approved number of dwellings
Prior to application of any density bonus.
be greater than the number of lots in the, oh,
You read it like I read it.
now maybe we just need to tweak it.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a little finicky.
Yeah, I was reading
Prior,
it
prior to,
Yeah.
that way
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
okay, prior to the density bonus.
Yeah.
We read it the same way.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not even 9 o'clock yet.
I know. It's just spelling out that don't ask for more than
Okay.
you can get, right?
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah,
the intent.
exactly, exactly,
And you can still get the density bonus.
exactly.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But you would never get more.
What were
than
we
the-
talking about?
Outside of the density bonus, you would never get more than the yield plan anyway.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
Add to it the density bonus. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
The next one,
Within the
Is-
shoreland.
preservation of natural
Preservation.
features.
Page 8.
Yeah, but it's under within the shoreland district.
Oh.
Number 2 is within the shoreland overlay district.
Maybe it's just numbered incorrectly.
Yes, yes, number 2.
That should probably be
C.
density number 3. Preservation of net, maybe?
oh, yeah. Instead of C, it would
Yeah.
Be number 3,
Oh, yeah, I have a hard time with the,
just re-numbered, and
good catch on that.
then you wouldn't actually put a number in it, because there's no number 2.
Development plans and all, it's going to minimize destruction resistance.
the idea is to encourage the developer to do something than just clear cutting, looking on that property, what are the things of value, large trees, stone walls, vegetation that may be, maybe not endangered, but going to that level. What is there on this property that's really worth saving? And hopefully, if they have a good relationship now with their open space holder, they could help them understand what is it that's worth saving on the development portion of it before you decide that clear cutting is the way to go.
I see both sides of this one.
Yeah.
They're already giving up X amount for the open space, but the theme would be nice to continue. And I think it's the forest in Wells across from the Sunoco station. They did all these little pull-offs, but at the pull-offs, they left the cluster of like the natural vegetation. So there's
It's a
some
nice
large mature
development.
trees and like ledge outcroppings. Granted, they have a huge drainage swale down the whole center, which isn't as ideal, but look at the trees. So I see the benefit of that as, a resident moving in, but I also see the obstacles of excavating around and destroying the root structure, and then the trees end up dying, or you're constantly working around those site constraints, but
Well,
I wish you could have both.
yeah, currently, they're supposed to identify anything in excess of 24 inches DBA in trees. But often that doesn't end up being anything, lead to any substantial change. I don't know how to enforce this one. Like, I mean, we could ask them to justify, I suppose.
I think you'd want to see the developable envelope within the. You want to see the developable envelope where the construction activity is going to happen within the developable area of the non-open space. And you'd want to see what the features are within that area, that being it specimen trees, stone walls and stuff. And maybe you put something as it relates to that now, that it has to be called out on the plan, and I don't know if you go as far as protected or to the maximum extent practicable, whatever, or some sort of language in there that gives the planning board or gives the developer that there needs to be some sort of design criteria within that buildable area. I don't know. If the board wants to look at that, we can play around with language.
I went back and forth. I like that it was mentioned because I think there's so much focus on what is going to be developed that there wasn't a lot of, there's not a lot of language about the area that's not going to be developed. So I like that it's called out. But to Dylan's point, I'm not sure how to enforce it, especially if there's gonna have to be ways that they're, the only way they can access the developed part, or et cetera. But I do like that there would be some attention paid to it.
That's exactly the point of this. And I
Therefore-
get the enforcement part.
Yeah,
I mean, their plan might be, we're going to keep this one tree. But at least it's been called out and you can evaluate something else. But that's exactly the point, is to call it out.
awesome.
So should must be should?
We have to look at this. If,
But again, I mean, the plan could be, I'm going to save a tree. Or a stone. But the,
Or replanting.
right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good,
Yep.
yeah, replanting any vegetation. But I think it's also worth noting if there's any like endangered species or any, whether that's vegetation or of the like, that should be noted somewhere.
Hard not knowing what the situations can be in the future.
I know they're all
Too,
unique.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
I like the intent of it.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is in buffers. There's only two more, three, there's one there. I think we all know that it's, right now, the ordinance has a 50-foot buffer requirement as is crossed out here. And as you know better than I do, every single one of these is unique and an adventure unto itself. There's no comparisons. They're all different, and in terms of having abutters, no abutters, it's by a waste management, might be up by Ledges Waste Management. You don't know what's gonna be there, so it's hard to set anything that would work. In here, I just tried to think about, well, what is the intent and what would work? And if we're gonna keep, minimum of 30 to 50, how would that work? So here's this language that I suggested here is, on the developable portion of the subdivision plan, there shall be a wooded/vegetated buffer along the property line of any lots outside the open space conservation subdivision. Buffer's width will be set to optimize conservation value and align with the character of the neighborhood with a maximum of 50 feet and minimum of 30 feet in width. What I would expect here, every single one of them will come with 30 feet.
You could
It-
also
it-
say, if you just left the original sentence and say, the developer can request a reduction if it meets the goals of the section or
Conservation.
something like that.
Conservation value in alignment with the character of the neighborhood. I think that end sentence.
Yeah, maybe like that.
Yeah.
So start out with 50 feet and say the buffer may be reduced to 30 feet. If doing so can, better optimize the conservation value and character of the neighborhood or something along that line.
So it
So
holds,
if you say 30 to 50, they're gonna go with 30.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you say 50 and say if you've got a reason, you can request as little as 30 feet. And it could be a road that goes close to it, or it could be something else that they want to include, but it would at least let them know the default is 50. But 30 is okay if you have a justifiable reason why it would not create problems with conservation value and alignment of the neighborhood. I don't know.
I think we gotta look at the dimensional standards and buffers that the board sent to the select board on that last amendment. Because I think they were lesser than what is shown here. And the board can,
Was that for affordable housing, you mean?
no,
Open space.
it's for this.
what was it?
I think I'll have to
Was
dust
it
it off
15?
again. No, it wasn't as low as 15. I want to say it was, because we looked at the gen zones and you look at the setback standards for the gen zones and it's 50 in the front and 30,
Oh, that's what I was
30 on the sides, 30 on the rear. I can't remember, but that's your predominant rural zones. And then there's variation in the other districts outside the growth area that are east of I-95, but that's predominantly the setbacks. And the setbacks here are 50 feet. Maybe there's where the waiver language comes into play, right?
I think the developed side should just be whatever the base density is.
Yeah, typically 30 feet. If you're just looking gen zones in the rural,
Yeah.
it's 30, 50-foot front and 30s on the side, and then
Right.
For
I
setbacks?
agree.
Yeah, I don't, because we're talking to the development side, so if you were to build a house, those would be your setbacks. Why deviate from, I guess it is a little more dense.
It's a little dense for the area in which it's getting built in, right? And ideally buffers can protect it. I still think in the rural areas, especially on the road frontage, it's important to maintain that rural feel. And certainly neighbors would think maybe the same if they're living there and they're next to a clustered housing development that are all, there's no buffering. It's been stripped out. So I think you need to make sure the buffers, at least within that setback, are strong.
So a 30-foot setback and a 30-foot buffer.
Correct. You'd say 30-30 and say you need a strong buffer within that area. If the buffers are gonna be 30 anyway, somebody could mow or clear cut all the way to that 30.
Right.
They just don't, it's just a structural setback, so they could clear up until the 30. So why not just say 30, have a strong buffer at that 30?
Yep.
But make sure it's, a landscape architect and maybe we make sure it's well vegetated or whatnot, so.
So if we do that, 30 and 30, do we need this standard
of optimizing conservation value and alignment with character of the neighborhood.
Probably wouldn't then. It's already 30 feet.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's already 30 feet.
So if we give a hard and fast rule, then we don't have a qualitative,
One less thing to
unless they get challenged.
kick around, yeah.
But it still has to be a buffer, as
Yes.
opposed to just.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say, couldn't that define the buffer? So up top it says wooded vegetated buffer. So I'm saying that that's basically saying the same thing.
Same thing.
Yep. Right.
So we would just be amending the 50 to a 30-foot
30-30.
Yep.
You'd be going 30/30s.
for the original
You'd
language.
be amending your dimensionals, because I know we did some with, the planning board did some with the dimensional standards on
We
that.
did, we took it down to 30.
It went down,
We took it down to 30.
so
I think that
then you'd
was,
say 30/30, yeah, the buffer would be, you'd just be matching your setback standards.
yeah,
But the frontage part is a little different. The wooded buffer strip, no less than 50 feet. You're just, again, following your frontage standard, really, in most rural zones. We'll take a look at the other standards in some of the other districts. The gen zones are just clear in my mind, but the other districts that this may be applicable to, it might be more prudent to match the underlying zone
Yeah, I would think.
rather than calling out this different standard, so.
Yeah.
I think it's also important, though, that we change the words on building lots to on the developable portion.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea would be the whole perimeter, right? The whole
The perimeter of the developable area.
the whole, yes.
Excluding the open space.
Excluding
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
already, right, yes, the whole developable area.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, there was a trail that, whatever, there could be some,
I
this
know.
is where you get into like, maybe there's a trail that goes through the wooded buffer area to get to that, and that's where you have to, that's where the waiver language, I think, is
Way to grandma's house.
is prudent to allow for that.
Yeah, connectivity to a trail network.
But that's a case-by-case basis, and I think goes back to that waiver provision, which links to the dimensional standards and the buffer
Right.
requirements, so.
Although that'd be something, unless it was like a single track trail, like a natural meandering path, I wouldn't want to see like an ATV trail.
No,
In the buffer, like it gets a little dicey when you start
Yes.
fiddling with buffer language. I don't see myself waiving that without a really good reason. Existing trail or something on a property line.
It would have to get, yeah, it would have to be a unique situation.
But I do, like, some of the open space plans we've seen, it's like you have to drive through the subdivision to then go to a parking lot.
Yeah,
Be nice to not,
I don't have to do
so
that.
you're like
I'm
driving
sure
through
the people
people's
in the
houses. to then
subdivision would think
park.
so too.
But it'd be great to like
Yeah.
partition it differently,
Yeah.
so there's access to the public.
Without going through the hood.
And that would be in your 50-foot buffer maybe, or front buffer.
Right.
But that would be the waiver, I think. It'd be case by case, and the board would have to weigh the values in
Yeah.
granting that waiver and looking at impact. It'd be,
That's,
As part of the negotiation too with the open space part, I guess.
yeah.
that's almost, that's like a common sense test for the developer, though, right? Do I want people who are using the open space to drive through all of these homes I just had people paying a lot of money for? No.
Yeah.
That ends up being what seems to happen.
Again, it's,
Yeah.
it's an IQ test, and somebody failed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, on the next one, maybe you could add something else there, because we're here, we're saying all wooded buffers shall be left undisturbed with natural vegetation, and here we've added while allowing invasive species and hazardous vegetation to be managed. Perhaps you could also change, the planning board may require additional landscaping to enhance the functionality of the wooded vegetated buffers, that part could be functionality is access. You wouldn't even need a waiver, it's right there that if everyone's in agreement that the buffer, there needs to be, a 3-foot path through it. Perhaps you could assume that E would allow that.
Yeah, I think the waiver provisions of the buffer has to be clear standards of approach and how the board would be granting a waiver to, say, that 30-foot minimum buffer standard or whatever. It'd have to be a very clear, distinctive reason for asking for it, and then the board granting it through various review standards in the waiver provision.
So keeping it in the waiver provision language.
I think there's a way, maybe there's a way to do both.
It doesn't invite it as much either. Like, we're almost suggesting to use that as a way out of a situation
Yeah.
if it's in there. I don't know.
We can think about that.
Okay.
The word managed, who would be in charge of that?
I would say,
Homeowners Association.
yeah.
Would be,
It's not forcing the management, but it's allowing for the management. So it's an undisturbed-ish buffer,
Yeah.
unless you gotta get some,
Yeah, if you have a tree, like an ash tree that might be exploding at some point,
Yeah.
Or a wild crop of multiflora rose.
Wow. Good luck.
anything invasive.
You might want it nipped in the bud.
nice,
Touche.
very nice.
And the last thing we added here is wanting to put information in the deeds, thinking that it's the one document that likely the homeowner would read. We don't know if they're going to read the homeowners association, but hopefully they'll read all of the documents, but this might be the most likely one. And to be able to give them information, the fact that, they're living in part of an open space, subdivision, and what those requirements are. Because on occasions, I have noted that homeowners are contacted, and this is after they've bought a house and moved in, then they learn, what do you mean I'm surrounded by conservation space? At least this would be good for them to know up front, what their role is. And usually it isn't what they have to do, it's what they can't do or shouldn't be doing and outside of their own property.
Get Mary's opinion on that one.
What happens if
Yep.
I buy my house before the subdivision, before the conservation subdivision plan is fully in place?
Can't do that.
Can't do it.
Oh, buy it before?
Buy
it
my
is?
house, yeah,
Then you'll have a deed,
I have a deed.
and it'll
Do
say,
I have to change my deed?
No, currently it doesn't reference it, so you wouldn't know. But because you're part of a filed plan approval with the state, you will be subject to all of these requirements, you just don't have knowledge of it.
You're protecting me from myself.
protecting
the open.
the open space from,
The open space
course, with the
is
sunlight.
protected, you may not know it and do something that infringes on it, and then when that's found out, the whole thing starts. It'd be better to know up front.
well, to say that, that the lot is part of a filed and approved open space conservation, subject to all requirements of that plan, subject to all requirements of the plan, including conservation requirements and HOA agreement. You could have that on the language before the open space conservation plan was completed, right?
That's the idea here, is
It's just
to-
saying that there is one.
Yeah,
There will be one.
I'm surprised there's no real estate laws of disclosure for that type of thing.
I was just
That's
thinking that, because if
to
you're the
sell.
seller,
It'd be a lot easier
it might be a
for
little
us.
more difficult
think there's something
with
reasonable.
obtaining buyers.
if I was gonna buy a lot that had that language, I'd say I'm not buying till this all gets done.
Good idea,
So from the developers,
which you shouldn't.
well, I shouldn't. But by the same token, as a buyer, I would see a draft of the HOA docs before I closed,
You should.
which would contemplate this coming along. So I understand there's an intangible restriction on the house I buy, but not a tangible restriction in the form of a deed restriction. First of all, I'm not, do we know of any town that has put this on a deed? I guess that's my first question. Because a deed conveys.
Deeds do reference plans. I've seen deeds that do reference the part, that they are part of the plan, but all it says is go find the plan.
Because the deed conveys ownership of a given parcel of property. This is a restriction on use,
Yeah.
which is different. Maybe this is a Mary question, and I'm not trying to be difficult, I just,
No, I agree. I think it's definitely worth having some legal
Legal
eyeballs,
advice.
legal eyeballs on this, just to know what our authority level is to include or not include, as well as what that wording should look like.
yeah.
I do think something to the effect would be helpful for the new owner to understand exactly what they're purchasing. It's because it sounds like there have been issues where it hasn't been noted on deeds or disclosed during a purchase, and
I will say that it is noted from the deeds that I've looked at that they are part of an improved plan. And usually it gives the book and page number where they could go find it in the Registry of Deeds. But people don't do that. They just say, I'm part of an approved plan, great.
We'd have to run it past town
Anyway.
council anyway.
yeah, well,
Yep.
it would have to go to,
That's town council, that's Mary.
yes. Oh, you said town council, my brain went to select board. You're right.
Town
sorry.
attorney,
Yes, and then, yeah.
not select board.
Oh, not the town council.
Yes, yes, yes.
Which we
my
don't
brain
have.
went-
Some good stuff.
SEL,
Yep.
not CIL.
Thank you.
This is a lot of work, this was good.
Yeah.
This is a lot of work.
Take it back to the drafting board.
Always an ongoing process.
Yep. And we'll
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I do kind of want to circle back to page 2, the first section that we were discussing. And it's something on part on what Gail and Steve had already touched base on, and having like the weight in the front, but also to Gail's point of making it sound a little more stronger. Is it, and I wordsmithed number 5, and those are just minor changes, but is it worth taking into consideration, the applicant will consult the York Conservation Commission instead of request feedback? I think the word feedback is a little weak. So just something to think of while I was going through this. And then down on line 1, 2, 3, 4, written comments from the Conservation Commission shall be provided by the applicant. I think that's a little loose. I think it gives questionable stature on if they want to or not. And then the planning board may, it says call upon conservation groups, but I think that word could be request, so we could request that someone from the conservation groups to speak on the open space conservation concerns.
And by groups, you mean Conservation Commission and the holder.
The holder.
The holder. I think that should be in parentheses. That's a good, I like that. Just so it's spelled out. And then when,
The planning board, what should it say instead? Planning board may request?
may request conservation groups, in parentheses, would you say, Wayne?
Including the holder.
Oh, yes, including the holder, thank you. And then, I feel like Pete, when I'm about to say this, is when you reference holder, if you could use holder, parenthesis, S, end parenthesis, in case there's more than one. You use holder and then holders in a couple different spots, so just to have a little more conformity with that word usage.
Oh,
Just a,
yeah,
just a
the proposed
suggestion.
holder,
Yeah.
yeah.
Somebody's got to pull that weight.
Sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry.
Any other,
Crystal Pete's name tag.
any other questions while we have the
I think this was
representation?
great. Obviously, a lot of work and attention and expertise and thought went into this. I think you guys did a really great job.
So I guess that the next steps are the Conservation Commission taking this back, making some tweaks, and then coming back, or going through the future land use ordinance subcommittee, or
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
probably through that group, and then working it through there.
And there was one of those sections that you were going to do something.
the buffer
The
language.
buffer.
Buffer language.
The dimensional,
Yes.
yeah, we'll wait till they provide some, they're gonna take in and digest and probably come up with some addition, what they heard and find the midpoint, and then we'll work on the other stuff on the back end as well, once we get that, so.
Well,
Ideally, everything's gotta be done by October. So,
I'm glad we're not dealing with it's got to be done in the next 2 weeks type of thing, so this is.
It comes
good.
quick, October's coming quick.
Yeah, really, really
This is
quick.
still
Yeah.
good. This is better than what we sometimes end up.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great job, and thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Next.
Can we take 2 minutes, stand up break?
We'll do a quick 5 minutes.
Sure.
Need more water? And we're back. Next up is Article 10F, Workforce Affordable Housing Overlay District Amendments.
Sure, and I don't know if any of you got a chance to look at the video from Monday night, but Wayne and Crystal were there for the hearings, and the select board opened, just for your knowledge, they did not vote the HDC proposal. It was 3-2, it failed to go to the ballot, so that has gone away for now. But there was a moment there where they were considering, we made a motion to move the proposed changes that you had forwarded them onto the Workforce Affordable Housing Overlay. Again, we brought it forward to get ahead of the LD 1829 and 2173 density standards as a way to, hey, let's try to chip away at this first and then move on. Well, while they were making that motion, I was like, hold on a second, because typically they have 2 public hearings. I was surprised that they were moving so quick a little bit, but some things have been brought to light. And I think you might have seen it in some of the email that I've posted, as well, my questions to the main Office of Community Affairs regarding questions on the densities and affordable housing and all the other standards, as well as having the time to really go through the outline that I put together. That certainly changes the density standards of the affordable housing. Not only have I had those conversations, I've had conversations with MoCA, and they're a great asset in providing, I think they'll answer your questions too. If you have any questions, you just go to their website and they'll respond to you. Just say that you're on the planning board or whatever. Or you can submit your questions through me and we can just do it that way.
What does MoCA stand for?
Main Office of Community Affairs. Yeah, so they have, anyway, I won't go into what but take a look at it online. So that was helpful. There's 2 people that are kind of the experts on the housing laws and stuff that towns are dealing with. I've also had conversations with town attorney and how we should be looking at this and approaching this as well. And I think there's gonna be significant changes to this ordinance, not just on the density, because we were focusing on the density and getting ahead of it on the density standard. But we would then have to make additional changes, I think, to this overlay for May as it relates to other standards too. And so what I think the planning board should consider, and I think what my recommendation is to consider holding off and tabling these changes for the select board. Basically, we'll notify the select board, hey, select board, can you please table these considerations? More things have been brought to light that we want to bring a full package to you in May, along with the other changes that we need to make to the base zoning requirements. I think when it became clear that all the other changes that, and I'll touch upon those in a little bit, that need to come to light, that I think it's just from a practical standpoint to hold off right now. So that's kind of my recommendation on that,
Do
if
we
the
need-
board's okay.
A formal motion on that, or is just head
Uh,
nods?
I think we could do some sort of like the board rescinds,
Request
motion to
to rescind.
rescind placing Article 10F, proposed changes on the November 26th ballot.
And then the select board would have to agree to that, because right now it's in their,
It's in their hands right now, but I think that from what I hear on the street, that might be okay.
They probably agree anyways.
oh no.
Yeah.
So that's up to you if the board wants to make that motion to rescind for more work and study on that. I would say it to something like that, for more work and consideration, and to make that recommendation to the select board, if that's okay with the planning.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we rescind a recommendation to the select board on Article 10F, Workforce Affordable Housing Overlay District Amendments. And consider amendments instead for the May 2027 ballot.
Yeah, I think it'd be to allow for greater study of the implications of state law for the May
Okay,
2027.
to allow allow for
Tack-
greater
tack-
study, yes.
Just tack that on. I will second that motion.
Moved and seconded, moved by Wayne, seconded by Crystal.
I'm not sure if Crystal can second that, because she, oh wait.
No, she's a
well,
voting member.
My apologies, my apologies.
Discussion?
No, I think
Crystal?
that's,
Yes.
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 Gail?
Yes.
Steve? Chair votes yes, 5-0.
Okay, we'll convey that to town management and select board, so they don't hold another hearing on it. I think, I'll see if the town manager or select board would still want to have a conversation, though,
Yeah.
about what we're seeing, to provide some more feedback to what Wayne's point of view, and they seem, well, let's still hear this out. Let's still hear what these changes mean and what we might be dealing with moving forward. I think there seemed to be some agreement there, but I don't know. We'll
I
find out.
think it's also helpful to have a little more context for them as well, to understand. I was a little, I think well, how do I word this? I don't think there was a full understanding from the select board as to why some of the changes that were proposed. I'm concerned that they thought it was an error on our end and not necessarily changes that were kind of outside of our hands, per se. Because we know, but I don't think, if we had more context for them to understand what that.
I couldn't go in to say LD
Yeah.
2173 changed the density standards.
Well, and
as
then they would-
applicable, therefore, we're gonna change this whole density section.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's just not a good look.
No, I agree.
I did like the recommendation for, like, notating the different changes,
Yeah,
state requirements versus the,
York defied.
while we're in there, kind
Yes,
of retweak. So if they could be in, like,
Yeah.
different colors.
We will do that, but I think that the amendments are gonna be greater than what we see. for-
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's, cause and we'll talk about it a little bit more, and we've certainly been looking at on staff, you're gonna have your base zoning standard changes. And we'll take a look at some dimensional, what that look like, and we'll work through the, future land use ordinance before we bring it to the full board, but, you have your base zone, those standards as applicable per the outline and the laws, blah, blah, blah. And then you're gonna have to have your affordable, I'm not gonna call it workforce affordable anymore, affordable housing standards. And my discussions with, I'm gonna be working with town attorney on what that look like, but I think, and we've been meeting with the housing group of the select board as well with York Housing Authority. They're like, why are we calling it workforce anymore? They're right, that goes away. The standards have been dictated by the state on what it is now. The density has been dictated on the state of what it will be. We have to, in my opinion, modify that whole section. And town attorney, and talking to her, I really have to sit down with her. I think she has some ideas about the overlay versus non-overlay. And I'm like, well, the overlay is the growth area. I'm like, you gotta understand like it still fits, but we just have to, so there's still some things there, but we have to modify our definitions. Workforce affordable housing definition. We gotta modify other components that are not just the density standards within this ordinance. So I can't really go into depth on what that looks like right now, but I have been working on it. I've brought paper copies. I don't know if I should hand them out yet though, because I've highlighted some of the areas that I'm looking at and it might be jumping the gun. I don't wanna get everybody all in a frenzy of what it means, so.
Better off not.
Because I think what I provided was still working with what we had moved up to the select board. It's gonna be greater than that, so,
Right, just in 10F?
yeah,
Okay.
that section. Then we were working on the actual base zone requirements to meet those 5,000 minimal lot size, 4 units per lot, just the market rate aspect of it all. And then there's the affordable aspect of it, which is its own rule, definitions and standards and whatnot. I can say there was a big question, you know how we were debating on percentages, for example, percentages of affordable units.
And what brackets?
Rental, and I provided you the outline, it specifies what that should be changed to. 51% of the total units within an affordable housing rental development needs to be for low income That's up to 80% AMI. The 49% after that, though, within the development, state doesn't dictate. And we've talked about the missing middle and still having a percentage allocated as it relates to rental units for that up to 120% AMI, roughly. I still think we go with that, but that would be an example of a York standard that we would apply. The state, as you saw in my email, the state doesn't dictate what you do with that remaining 49%. You could go straight luxury condos or, you know, and then next to the low-income housing if it's rental. Will a developer do that? I don't necessarily think so, but you never know. I still think we have to leave that missing middle, and we talked about it, and we actually sent something that was kind of like that, but I'll play with the percentage with the future land use ordinance subcommittee, what that might look like, what it entails, what it means. But we weren't ready, and I wasn't ready to recommend sending anything to ballot, so.
So to be continued then.
Yes, the moral of the story is to be continued. Thank you for your understanding. Sorry about that, but I thought we were on to something with the densities, but the 2173 really kind of threw it off a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it sounded like from your discussions that you shared with that person, that what you thought was, he was saying that's, yes, that's,
What I thought right before the meeting,
Yeah.
the ordinance is already posted. I couldn't go, I felt like I could have tried to have explained it, but then you guys wouldn't have, it would have been totally something different than what you had all forwarded to the select board. And that didn't make me feel comfortable either. I could have recommended a density that was completely different than what you guys had forwarded, and I didn't want to do that. I don't think you would have been happy with me.
This is
Or at least you've been, why'd you do that? And then I have to explain why I did that, and then it's just like, well,
no, you're talking about not affordable or affordable density.
affordable, non-affordable, no, affordable density. I'm talking about the affordable density. We would have had to change that on the fly at the select board meeting, and I was ready to you probably saw the piece of paper in my hand that was highlighted, I was ready to and I was like, oh, wait a minute.
A lot of new information all around.
It would have changed, I couldn't do it. And then it's dealing with the definitions of 51%. We have to address that within the code. We don't.
Right.
We don't. And that would have been a new change.
So a new definition, for example, of affordable housing.
Or, yeah, changing your definition of, we define what workforce affordable housing is in the that has to change. And we have to codify the intent of this quote-unquote overlay to meet the standards of this section of the state code. There was discussion, at least preliminarily, Mary was like, well, I'm fearful you're gonna call that the base zone. That's the zoning standard, therefore they'll get 2.5 times that. I'm like, no, that's not. We have to, needless to say, we have to tease it out a little more,
That's fine.
so we don't go back to the well twice. So I think we're on the right trajectory, and thank you for your patience.
Understandable.
Okay. LD 1829.
So LD 18,
2173.
Brendan has put together kind of some what the dimensionals might be like.
Some setback examples. I posted some on the website. We've come up with a couple more since then. So I'll put those up on the screen in just a bit. But do you want to lead into what some of the 2173 changes have been?
Yeah, I assume everybody has reviewed the outline that I put together, and I've gone through 2173, 1829, and LD 2003 to incorporate what we need to be looking at. And if you guys have had a chance, rather than me spelling out what it all means in here, do you have any questions on that outline? Does it make sense to you?
As much as the legislation makes sense, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important to understand, one of the caveats that LD 2173 did is certainly change that density at the second lot can be that they just said, look, your first lot, right, or Your lot is gonna be a minimum of 5,000 square feet, you gotta allow for 4 units.
And then
If
subsequent one after that is,
The same.
5,000 square feet and 4 units.
but that's gone now.
It's just no, that's the standard. Before it was the subsequent lot could be 10,000.
They removed
whatever.
that
It was bizarre.
additional density.
Right, so your base density with water and sewer in the growth zone is now 1250 square feet per unit.
That's it.
Up to 4.
That's
And
it.
then and then the
It
next,
says that was and Mary and everyone's like, it says the first 4. So if you're on an existing lot and you say it's a 7,000 square foot lot, you could say, on that lot, the next, you could say the 2,000 square feet per unit on that same lot. Does that make sense?
If that's what the base density is.
So if you have 2 lots that don't equal 10,000 square feet,
Yeah,
you could change within that existing lot. It says the first 4 units have to be this.
yep.
But if you're not gonna create another 5,000 square foot lot and you wanna the town can generate a density
The
standard.
town can,
Yes.
but we don't have to.
No, you
Right.
could just say that's the density, 1,000, whatever. I mean, that's the cleanest way to do it, cause it's just like, okay, but if you wanted to say after that first 4 on the same lot, this is the density standard and it, you could do that.
Yeah, I read it as the, what is it, 1250 for the first 4 lots.
That's how I read it too.
No,
And that was the max density
how I-
on the first 5,000 square feet.
it's 250 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit for the first 4 dwelling units.
Right.
On
So
a
after
lot.
the first 4, it defaults to the base density after that.
It could,
So if it, let's say,
on that lot,
on that lot,
yes. But you look at the base densities, is it like a developer probably just, well, I'm gonna create another 5,000 square foot lot and put another 4 units on
well, that's what I'm thinking is gonna happen.
it? Yeah,
But that was what was going to happen in my brain anyways. I didn't see a lot of people using the secondary density bump, the 5,000 additional per,
well, that was the 1829 cleanup, 2173 tried to clean
Fix
that.
it? Fix it
Fix
act?
that aspect of the density standard and created this.
so bottom line, 5,000 square feet, 4 units.
5,000 square feet's a minimal lot area for a lot.
Yep.
When you water and sewer and all that stuff, right?
Growth zone.
1,250 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit for the first 4 dwelling units on that lot.
So that's our requirement.
I think it's easier in my mind to just say 1,250, 5,000 minimum. That's it.
but again, what if all the developer had was a,
4,000 square foot lot?
an 8,000 square foot lot?
Yeah,
On the first 5,000, you got 4. Now you've got 3,000 left.
That's no more.
How many can you put on that 3,000?
well, that can be decided by
I'd
us.
say
The state's not saying, they're not saying.
That's a town.
they were
Left side up to
before.
us.
They were kind of before, but now it's gone and now it's
No, it's a town decision.
it's up to us. This is as long as we allow for that 5,000 minimal lot size.
Yeah.
4 on that 4 first units at 1,250 as a density.
Now, you're not subdividing the lot, you're putting 4 dwellings on the lot.
Correct, subdivision law has changed where that won't be a subdivision, however, I highlighted it as a site plan.
I thought it could not go before the planning board. Didn't it state that?
It does, and that's where it specifically said that, but in my outline, you see how I highlighted page 5, division of new existing structures?
Yes.
So I guess it's of new or existing structures into 3 or more.
Thought they removed that language.
That's in there right now. That's
In
in,
2173 or in the MS?
no, they did revise the subdivision standard, but this language is still there. That's why I highlighted it. It was like, this is there. They say it's subdivision laws, because most towns are unlike York. Most towns have a subdivision ordinance or regulation here and a site plan ordinance regulation over here. They're not one. We have one. So it's, I gotta evaluate that, how it relates to this law.
Well, the multifamily housing is the only gray area.
Yeah, well, the 4-unit, because multifamily is still saying it's 3 units. Is a division of a new or existing structure into 3 or more dwelling units. That's our definition of multifamily. And therefore, whether division comp by sale, lease, development, or otherwise, where the project is subject to municipal site plan review, we require site plan review, and our site plan review is our subdivision standards.
On page 5 of the 2173, so there's multiple PDFs on the state's website, so I could have the incorrect one, but on the one I'm holding, it does have a section for any area in which residential uses are allowed, including as conditional use, a municipality may not require planning board approval for accessory dwelling units or solely because the project will establish 4 or fewer dwelling units
Yeah,
within a single structure
feel like it's in conflict
on a
again.
lot.
Did it say subdivision review?
No.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with, we aren't gonna, but I highlighted it in
Yeah.
this, just to be like, there's a conflict here, and we have to work out with town attorney how to approach it. I think the state law's intent is, no, 4 or less,
Stay out of our
stay out of it.
wheelhouse.
It's a
Yeah.
code office thing. That's what I believe it is. And then 5 or more. So we have to change our definitions a little bit. I think I'm gonna go through MOCA and do all this and town attorney to see, because I'm getting different feedback from different folks too. So it's like, can we, well, okay, come on, we get it.
So the subdivision laws, so I've got a little over 1/3 of an acre. I can divide that into 3 lots. Still safe, don't need any review for that, correct?
3 lots, you need subdivision review.
I thought it was 3 or fewer, you did not.
Dwelling units.
So
Lots are-
dwelling units, the
Lots
trigger.
are
4 or few dwelling units. Lots are different. They kept the lot standard in there.
I thought there was language, maybe that was in the first one, was it 5 or,
That may have been that, but for.
It's in the same building.
Yep.
They left the lot. See, if you look on, again, page 5, subdivision means division of a tract or part of land into 3 or more, underline it, 3 or more lots within a 5-year period, so that, they kept that standard. It's down where I started underline, division of a new structure on a tract of land into 5 or more dwelling units within a 5, the construct of 5, there's that, the number 5 is the key of dwelling units. But the lots, if you're creating 3 lots,
then it
different
comes in
lots,
for review.
comes to subdivision review.
Which, would that also trigger open space?
Yeah,
So we're dealing with a really unique case. that-
in the growth area where
Right.
water and sewer, that's really the predominant
So like
thing you gotta look at.
York Street houses under half an acre.
York Street, yeah, for
So-
example,
Those could then be divided into 3 or 4 lots individually. Where's the open space come in on a fully,
well, I think
grass
you could
lawn, like
dictate
there's-
the dwelling units as multifams.
well, no, so 3 or 4 lots, and then on each of those lots, you could build your, I guess what I'm saying is there's not a lot of
You'll have a parent parcel.
conservation land value in a fully
Yeah.
grassed lawn,
No, there isn't.
but they're, you know what I mean? Single lots are gonna be subdivisions,
4 units, yeah. It will be,
people choose to.
it will still be an interest, yeah, we have to evaluate it. That's all I can say. The net developable standards that we have and calculations, I think we have to potentially scrub them. Because I'm still waiting on feedback on the suitable land. You know, the state law does kind of say, well, you can take into effect shoreland and environment. Well, what about steep slopes, 30%? You know, some of the things we eradicate out of our density calcs. So to be determined, that's more questions coming.
Yep.
This was just the first
Oh, yeah.
first lob of questions to MoCA and town attorney, and it's gonna really pick up this next 2 months. Because we're gonna try to get our things, working with future land use ordinance subcommittee as well as you guys, to get our things drafted by October 1st, done, basically, a really good draft of what we're hoping to do.
It's a lot to do.
And then you guys have hearings in December.
Yep.
And then the select board January, February for a May consideration.
So the only item that is concerning this outside of the growth area is if it's served by public water and sewer. Other than that, nothing changes outside the growth zone.
Right.
Yes.
That is correct. And there's not very many places in our growth area that are on water and sewer, other than the Cliff House area, and that's a weird agreement, and there, I don't think maybe you'd see some interesting, things happening with those large homes. I don't know. Unlikely, but maybe.
Possible.
Never know.
Could be I don't know. Yeah.
So-
Mary
so-
brought up an interesting point as it relates to that area, so we'll have to figure that out too. You don't want me to develop this, then pay me money, and I won't do this standard here.
Is that,
It's happened before with other people out there with the Cliff House and stuff.
Oh.
I'll go away, just give me this.
sample, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, you mentioned a build-out analysis.
Yes, that brings back, the planning board would like to see a build-out analysis, correct?
Yeah, that's the
Select board.
something. with
Select board
Esri.
wanted to, I think, as well.
That'll be different. Esri, that software will be us being able to actually do 3D models and evaluate open space and buildings, how they relate to one another. The build-out would be contracting probably with, who is it you were talking to?
Well, we'd be working with our GIS contracted services, the CAI, that does all our maps, that does our GIS, and working on a scope of, trying to, looking at these parameters, can we guess unit counts in various areas with scenarios? It's basically scenario planning with unit counts.
Does it take into consideration real life scenarios, or just like these boxes?
Well, we can add caveats like park, things like that, but you get into that level of specificity on a lot, it's hard at that level, I think. But if you look at density and you factor out wetlands, you factor out 30%, you factor out shoreline, known vernal pools,
You've
things
got to
like that.
agree on setbacks too. Are we changing setbacks?
That's right. We have to figure out, and Brendan's gonna kind of show you a little bit of what that might look like, reasonably speaking.
That build out is at, to the point of setbacks, like if we're tweaking numbers, that's not software we can use, right? We have to tell them what we want it analyzed as. And do we get one shot, or do we say, hey, can you redo that at X amount lot coverage, or?
Yes, we can provide those scenarios.
And it'll just tell us the amount of dwellings, that's the goal.
Roughly. It won't be precise. You're looking for ballpark, and you're looking to understand think of a heat map. These areas could see that.
Yeah.
This area, not so much.
I think once we get those results too, like water and sewer, bring them in to make sure
They've been
capacity's there.
They wanted a more specificity in the build out, more engineering study and stuff for, like, say, sizing pipes and stuff. We're like, we can't go that far.
We can give them half of it, and then they can take it
They can
from
take
there,
it.
right?
They can take it and utilize it to move forward.
But you also realistically have to say that before sewer and water is figured out, it could take a lot of these supposed theoretical units off of the map, because you got to have utilities
Capacity ladder?
easements in there as well. As well as capacity. We haven't even started with capacity.
Oh, yeah. There's certainly concern there from both districts about capacity and ensuring, standards are applied for these developments and whatnot that may come on board.
Is it, I mean, every site plan or subdivision, we ask them, do you have the capacity? They say yes. Are they just gonna keep saying yes until they have to say no? I mean, that's,
Yes.
Yeah, if you talk to them, it's like, well, they're required to provide water based on state requirements, right? But it's the conversations I've had, including a meeting this past week at the Kittery Water District, because their concerns are there too, because of these droughts and because of the shipyard and because of, I will say, I think all the districts in southern Maine are looking at additional water sources, tie-ins, and that there will, if things keep going as they're going with these, yes, you'll see tighter standards. They already are with sprinkler systems and stuff like that. They've started doing that. That's just the
it's
beginning.
a temporary thing, but
That's the beginning, yeah, I'd say that's the beginning, and if it keeps going in this drought and usage thing, I'd say we'll have more standards. And they want us to put, I think, some plan notes on approvals, which, okay, just put it in that letter you send, and we'll put the plan notes on there. If you're on water, regarding sprinkler system types, regarding,
Days of watering.
days of water use, however you wanna restrict, like, wasteful water use, yeah, we'll do it.
We got that point loud and clear when York Water District was here. I mean, they showed, when they run out of capacity based on different assumptions.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not that far.
it's not that far. And Kittery's in the same boat.
I
and
thought Cary was actually worse because of the Navy Yard.
The Navy Yard's actually looking at desal on their site now.
Ooh, that'd be a big construction job.
To help, well, I don't know, plug it into a submarine, I don't know what they do, so, whatever, so, I don't know.
We can use all of our ponds for storage if they want, just
Yeah.
So
pipe
they're
it in,
looking at that,
give it back.
they're looking at that, because they're looking at usages go up there too, and Kittery deals with different set, like their usage in the winters at the most, because that's when the shipyard needs water the most, so it's here, different, very different, and there's definitely concern now more than ever, I think, and with the new density standards, I would still say in LD 2173, there's still a rate of growth ordinance that can go, and if it's going in that direction, you better believe that towns are gonna be like, we're putting a growth control ordinance on this right now, because we can't meet these standards, and you're gonna take us to court. I think that's a losing battle on the state level, because they can't provide the resources necessary for the development. So,
So for the build out, is that happening? Do you need a motion from us to?
I
seek
just want,
funds, or-
if you guys know of anything that you would like to see, I think you brought up setbacks and, lot coverage, kind of we can't go, because we don't know what it is yet, right? We haven't come, but we can play with that for some scenarios, and they can easily just turn on, turn off the scenario, right? When they add all the inputs they need to do. Is there anything else you'd like to see as part of that build out?
I didn't know if it would be worth the energy to build out current zoning. Like if everything was built out to the max now, lots divided as much as they could with current zoning, and then I don't know if that's helpful, because it's not gonna be,
Yeah,
It-
that
but,
could
like,
be-
that's
that could
gone.
be- I think
It's
that could be
theoretical.
really
It gives us a
useful.
baseline at the very least.
You look at the current zoning, because we have to change it no matter what.
that's what I'm kind of,
We could get some information that would help direct us on how we might want an ordinance to go. I mean, I think that's a good idea.
they would just have to go each zone specific with the,
Yeah, I could ask how that may, and we're also trying to keep it at a cost that's
Yeah, yeah,
below a certain amount too. So we're playing with all these things. We can see and find out if that could be an easy standard. I guess for me, it's working on the constraints, wetlands, steep slopes, vernal pools, shoreland. Those are like
Yep.
Off the top of my head, those are constraints that they can say, okay, just block those out.
I'd agree on that.
Include that.
How about character-based zones? Who has priority? The character requirements or the density requirements?
What do you mean?
I mean, we've got some requirements for design standards that could run up against the ability to build as dense as the law allows.
Capturing that in a build-out?
Well, I'm not sure you can do that, but
Yeah, I don't think we can.
I think
it's a consideration.
getting the setbacks and the lot coverage nailed down before, I think would be important. Because that's
Ideally-
kind of addressing that.
Yeah.
Ideally, the lot coverage, we haven't even gone into lot coverage yet. We're looking at setbacks too, and we'll show you some examples. We haven't nailed that down yet, but I think obviously lot coverage goes way up.
Well, that also could run into design standards, because you could stay within lot coverage by, putting up buildings like the Grand View's quarters there. The innkeeper's quarters at the Grand View. Square box?
Yeah.
That's how you can get it.
Maximum build out.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it goes back into design specs and how you might want to, you want to allow spires like that, I don't know, but like, yeah,
That'd be kind of a worst case build out, not taking that into effect.
I'm just saying that, is the state going to say, just like with setbacks, you can't artificially maintain setbacks that are going to mean you can't use the whole property?
Yeah.
You're going to say you can't artificially enforce design standards if it minimizes the number of units you can get on a piece of property.
yeah,
I think that's
I'd
more-
still argue that we allow 190 square feet per unit.
And it'd be a site constraint of what.
I don't know
the-
what to say. Like, we can easily allow 4 units on that, but that might be really tiny. Or it might be, I think in general, it doesn't, the laws don't say they have to be detached either. They can be condoed, like,
Right.
I think what we're gonna get is that we're gonna get the triple deckers, which I don't think is a bad thing per se, but if you get that, or you'll get 5,000 minimal lot size, but I just wanna put one single-family dwelling on it. I think you'll get that here a lot more,
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
for sure. I mean, it's still a desirable place to live, and
That's what you're gonna probably run into,
Peop-
single-family.
people who want to live here, don't want to live in 190 square feet. People that can afford to buy the land.
I'm saying if you had multiple units on a lot type of thing, but yeah, if it's,
Depends who's doing it
well, it depends. It really does, yeah.
and who scoops it up first.
Yes.
Yep. If we have that primary resident thing, which I think that's still applicable, that's gonna be another salvo of questions that go out there about the primary resident. Has to be a primary resident to get this standard, which, be a performance standard of the requirement, if the state allows us to do that, so, which I think they would, I think. Or maybe non-short-term rentals, I think we can easily
Oh,
attach to that.
that's,
But the not second home, I don't know. I have to find out.
Is one of the constraints, if it's, let's say, 8,000 square foot lot currently, you would ignore that extra square footage. So you would deal with 5,000 square foot increments, creating new lots, and then I guess,
Yeah.
how does the,
That's how we have to look at that. If you're running into the 8 or 9, 6, 7, 8 or 9,000. If you don't have 5, 10, increments of
fives,
five? Then I think
Ignore.
we can apply, we can kind of ignore or fall back to our base current requirements, I think.
I'm just thinking for the build out, if they just chopped everything up into 5,000 square foot lots,
Yeah.
and then we calculate that equals 4.
Yeah. That's
That's it.
easy.
You're back to your calc.
Yeah, Well, for the build out.
That's the easiest way to do it.
5,000 to 9,999 lots is the ones you're talking about.
Say this again?
Right, you're saying
5,000.
9,999 square foot lots would be 4 units.
Yes.
Right.
Good. Yeah, if that's the standard we wanted.
So you offer dimensional standards for a range of lot sizes as they go up.
Well, yeah, well, the calculation is if lots between this and that equals 4 units, but still try to divvy stuff up into 5,000 square foot lots, right? Are we saying the same thing?
Well, no, if we've got a lot of existing lots, you can't just make
That's-
5,000 square foot lots.
That's right.
Why?
Because you've got lots in place that don't fit the 5,000 square foot box.
Or
You're-
like the excess square footage?
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, like a half acre lot, 0.5 acres or more, you can make 4 lots.
Yeah,
Frontage and
anything
road access.
between,
Yeah, you still have frontage and road access issues.
well,
that you
yes,
have to
yes, you do.
Include
But if you put an internal,
road.
I'm thinking like Greenway designs, how you can put a road down the center of it, have
Yeah.
2 lots, or like what we just got a sketch plan for. Their driveway access, and there's how many units there? It's pretty much that all over the growth area.
Yeah, we have to be careful. We have to look at the road, like layout, design requirements too. Because just putting in these little nubs. I put in a nub, a little square, and that's my
Like a
right of way.
hammerhead?
And I'm meeting the front at 50 foot there, therefore I get boom, 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 boom.
Right,
all
you
these-
can't, it's very like landlocked pieces of property.
Yeah, we have to evaluate that too. Yeah.
As
there's
far
no
as the
doubt.
build-out calculation,
But for
that'd be
build-out-
worst-case scenario,
Yeah.
being creative with internal roadways or whatnot. That at least gives us like the maximum number.
Right.
If you're gonna say, 4 to 5, 4 units per 5,000 square feet.
Right. Like that's just the simple,
That's the simple thing.
But what
I
is,
mean, what's the purpose of doing that?
thank you. What's the value in that information?
that would show like capacity concerns with water sewer
But it
or
wouldn't.
where to,
But it doesn't really, after 5,000 isn't the next whatever access they can access, they can build whatever size they want.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
I think, isn't that the way this, looking at your notes, I thought the first 5,000, you had 4 units at 1250.
Yep.
But if you had like 7,500,
9,999.
they didn't have to be 1250 anymore, they could be a variety.
What the
of
base zone
size.
is.
Correct,
That's correct.
But
right, so you could
But
have
you're saying for
600
build out,
square feet.
you're saying for build out purposes, how many 5,000 square foot cubes can you get with 4 units on each cube?
right.
And we'll show some dimensional standards at a frontage requirement of this.
20, 10, 10, whatever.
I think we can show that. That's easy. Because you're not gonna worry if it's a 9,999 square foot lot. You just get,
4
you
units.
still get 4 units, that's it. But if you get 10, okay, you hit that potential for another lot type of thing. And that, for build out standards, you don't wanna get too precise, because then it's like, well, that lot, or, you start getting
Just
lost
a
in
quick
some things.
ballpark. And then when they give us that analysis, will it be mapped? Like, will
Yeah.
And discuss, I know I brought this up before and everyone thought I was crazy, but if the growth area conversation does get brought back up, can we use that data to kind of, what I'm picturing is a tool where you can click, drag, and it'll tell you how many dwelling units in this zone.
Yeah, and I think that the important thing with this unit count is sewer water. Keep thinking that, sewer water.
For today, but 20 years from now, sewer water may or may not.
Sewer water may or may not, yeah, and I would argue we'd want to add a reasonable extension of the lines. We've already had some maps produced that we will show you soon of the sewer water lines in the growth area and stuff, but we'd want to add an extension of what's a reasonable extension in the build out to say, okay, for a scenario, a mile from, or within the growth area, what is a reasonable extension? We can look at what that might look like too. Certainly Route 1, I think that whole, is that a reasonable expectation to see Route 1 between the two rivers get sewer, I think. There's grant money, maybe, I don't know. But,
Thinking about this more, we kind of need to tweak the 5,000 equals 4, because that is only with town water and town sewer.
Yes.
that is, town water
So
and town
can
sewer.
does the sewer district have data with parcel ID to
Yeah.
be able to match up?
We have it.
We've already got a map made of each parcel that's connected and has an account with the sewer district. So it's just all the sewer lines with each parcel that they touch.
So I would do those lots separate with 4 units, right? And then everything else in the growth area, is it 3?
20,000.
20,000 square feet.
So
You don't have
that
sewer. You don't have sewer, it falls to that 20.
Right. So that would be live today,
Live today, we can do
Right.
a live today, and then we can do a,
then we should do like a
if you increase the lines out,
to the next road or something like that. So that's where we need to talk with
I
the
would
sewer
do-
district and see.
do a radius, I would just say, I mean, we require in our site sub, I think 750 feet, you're supposed to connect, we have to look at that. If you do a development, you're supposed to connect within 700 feet or whatever that's waived by the planning board.
It's expensive now.
That's what we have in our
750
affordable housing standard too, so I mean, we have to address all these
Wow.
standards that we require sewer, water hookup, if you're within 750 feet, that's a pretty long distance, but,
So does that make sense for the build out? Chopping it in that?
Yeah, my only point is, I don't want to come up with a number that's so huge that it's gonna look like we're fear mongering. You know, that, knowing that, most lots won't get subdivided in 5,000 feet for 10 years, maybe another X percent in the next 10 years. But properties don't turn over that quickly or change that quickly. And again, I guess it isn't gonna hurt to know what the maximum is, but the realistic maximum is more important to me, because that's what's gonna tell when the sewer or water comes into problems, a realistic growth that's somewhere in the realm of the possible.
Could compare it with the with our population change.
yeah, there are ways we can,
So if we've grown, because I think it was like 2020 to 2026, we gained 1,000 residents. Okay, 6-year period, expect, let's say, 2.5 people per household. Over, 10 years, what does that look like? What does that rate look like over time?
we can tie it to that. You wanna do a worst case, not worst case, but absolute, like, this is max. And then you back off of that to more realistic figures based on population averages that have happened, you can do that. Or you can do percentage of total, like what, you get that, what does 10% of that look like? Which sometimes that's like, whoa, okay, that's not that much, but that's quite a bit of units. Whoa.
Maximum would be 10 units per 5,000 if it was affordable housing everywhere.
If it was
That's the
affordable.
like doom and gloom scenario, but that's not
Affordable
realistic.
housing, yeah, and I don't think, again, it's unlikely, but maybe you wanna just see it and back out of it, what does that look like, you gotta come up and then, yeah, work, like you said, not be scared and say this is gonna happen, because no, population has been this into the air. New building permits have been this, we can factor in some things there to make a reasonable suggestion of
Yeah.
evaluation of the data. But it's just good to see, see what may be.
The CD4 is kind of a good example. That was live when? 2 or 3 years ago?
November of 2024?
Alright. And there's been movement, like when a property
Here
goes
and there.
for sale, people have been able to divide their lots because of it, and then recent site plan,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, more or less.
right? So every time there's property for sale in that district, because it's such a big change, it's getting scooped up.
Yeah, and within that area, if the parameter, there's a lot of, whatever. You can do a lot more, short-term rental and stuff like that there, so I don't know if that has any effect on things, but it may. Being that close to the beach, but who knows? But we can put caveats to it, but if the idea is the board that wants us to do that, we can do this and try to come up with some reasonable scenarios.
Oh, and by the way, there's a part that says if it's in a flood zone or two other scenarios, dunes, another one.
Yeah,
Then, somewhere I said, though, it doesn't apply as long as it's in the town's comprehensive plan or in ordinance somewhere. And I'm not sure what that meant, but that was an interpretation that I read. That it wasn't automatic that that can't be in the area. There was some,
I'll have to look at that. I'm not sure. Within the outline, I put it in there. So we-
it's
I
in
know
the,
there's exceptions in the law and that has a lot of portion is not within an area identified as coastal barrier, area of special flood hazard, so area with coastal sand dune system. Subsection, as long as the municipal exempts the lot or portion of the lot in a duly adopted ordinance. That's more sand dune. We have RP on those anyway in our shoreline, so that's still applicable.
yeah, I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
it's in there somewhere.
RP, shoreline standards still apply. And RP, we have a lot of RP areas and I'm not getting into the
Yeah, you're right.
east shoreline thing.
Resource protection is as tight as you can get.
That's as tight as you can get. Yeah.
I'm sure you saw the child care facility.
That has to be a change to the use table. I know we have 4 or 5 different child facility uses, but we have to match, I'd say, this is a good point, a good example of where we would have a straight
Consolidate
definition, consolidated, and the use would be
Yep,
straightforward.
So it's pretty much allowed everywhere.
Yep.
Anyway,
It kind of is now, I think, but we just need to match this.
and it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So
So more confusion and more clarification all in one. Thank you.
yeah, sorry again.
Hey, it's not you.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be, we'll get through it. There's gonna be some growing pains to it.
Yep. SMPDC did have kind of a nice checklist too. I don't know if we want to follow their guidance a little bit on that, or if you have a different plan, trying to, I guess, lay stuff out and.
I know they didn't put anything, when 2173, they didn't update their
Right.
stuff, but it's applicable. Sure, it's to consider as as part of any ordinance changes or comp plan changes or anything you wanted to do. I'd say, again, and I think you know my opinion on this, the comp plan is tough to change right now. I think on the next comp plan update, you change it to a standard that might be a more detailed analysis of growth areas per se, if you want to, as part of the discussion. But it certainly has greater impact in other areas of your codes than just changing
Right. Yep.
both in zoning, from setbacks and to other uses and everything beyond.
I think with the setbacks also, Wayne brought it up, but what is realistically buildable on a lot?
Yeah. If you want to look at some of these
I think
pictures.
that'd be a good
Yeah.
segue
Yes,
in.
please.
So, we took a little bit of direction with some of these. So this would be a 20,000 square foot lot. This is growth area not on water and sewer, or as we talked about earlier, conservation subdivision. On the left, these are our typical, let's say, Gen 3 setbacks, where it's 20, 20, 30. You have 9,000 square feet of buildable area on 20,000 square feet. A lot of these areas now, it's currently 1 acre or more. So not changing the setbacks at all, still perfectly buildable. If we wanted to make it a little bit larger, we could go with just 20 all around as well. Just nets an extra 600 square feet, but I know that from some comments, that extra 10 feet of front setback is kind of important for that. So either way, on 20,000 square foot lots, it's not too big of a deal to work on the setbacks there.
Is that with like septic designs in thought and well radius and stuff?
Right, yeah, they would have to notify where all of that is, or know where all of that is, because just, that's the state minimum. They have to do that anyways in order to get a septic permit, so they need that.
Yeah, well radii and septic, so septic systems can go up to what, 10 feet to your lot line now?
Within the setback?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you know off the top of your head what the well radius is?
100 feet.
100, so it has to be out of a septic reserve area, and if you go into another lot, you should have a easement as it relates to it.
I guess why I'm asking is, with these lots not connected to the utilities, do they need to be configured so those wells are guaranteed to not be in a radius? So it's more, I guess, more thought out, so everyone puts the well in their back left corner or something like that,
Yeah.
or,
Well, I mean, you look, it's 100 feet on a side, so you can kind of guess that that would take up a pretty large amount, because
Yep.
the septic takes up some square footage as well by itself.
And there's gonna be proposed changes to the well protective rate, well
The well ordinance.
ordinance coming too.
Changes?
That's a standalone ordinance over here, that's not in the zoning ordinance.
Should be getting those from code soon, because they will have an impact on this.
You
That's
would know
nice.
off the top of your head, in what way?
Not off the top of my head, no.
bigger radius,
I think,
potentially?
I can't recall what they're I haven't seen the proposal yet.
Okay. Is that a mandate, or is that a suggestion?
Mostly right now, so yeah, it's a bit of both.
Okay.
From town attorney and whatnot, but we do need to look at the well radius. Did the Mocha, did she? Let me just see.
I think he mentioned it in his answer to you, was things like wells radius.
Yeah, she did say something like that. We'll have to look at that, and that might be a reasonable constraint, though,
Absolutely.
to that 20,000, chopping 20,000 square foot lots, because the well radius is just,
Right. Well, it's also a 9,000 square foot house, which is pretty large, so they could reduce the back.
I think the idea is 9,000, that's your building envelope.
Yeah.
Right.
So within that building envelope, you can certainly put a house and I think some other things, but all lots are different, right? There's other constraints that, this is a perfect Highland lot that's, out there.
So pretty much, I don't think we have to worry about.
No, we might have to look at lot coverage on these, just depending, because some cases it's 25%, but 25% of 20,000 is still 5,000, I think, so, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
so, okay, maybe not, actually, maybe lot coverage is fine on,
Let's all look at that.
at least on 20,000, I think lot coverage might end up being fine.
Quick math right now, but yeah, we're gonna look at it. and have some-
Sorry, keep going, didn't mean to derail again.
So going from 20,000, we have 4 options for 5,000, or not options, you're not picking tonight, you're not voting on it, but just ideas. So this first one is 10, 10, 15, and the next one is 12, 12, 15. We talked about these with the Future Land Use Committee. The 12, 12, 15 is actually our CD3 standard. And 10, 10, 15 is just one that we kind of spitballed out there as a possible outcome. That extra 2 feet on the sides and the rear in each way does add up. Gives us north of 2250 for buildable envelope, which is, north of 1,500 on that buildable envelope is ideal. I personally rather see north of 2,000. It's just easier all around. So this would still give reasonably built out lots. The next two would be cutting down the front setback and just doing 10 all around. And then the one on the right is one of my creation. It's actually from my previous city, where the side setback was actually an option of either 10. So you could pick 10 on one side, 5 feet on the other, just depended on however you wanted it to be. it ends up creating kind of an offset between lots, so that way it's not all cookie cutter, same. There's some variation to it. That one ends up actually giving us the most room, and that's with adding an extra 5 feet on the rear setback as well.
Kind of gives better options for driveways too, right?
Right, even though you are allowed to put your driveway in the setback, this does still give a little bit more freedom to how that's oriented. And ideally, no setback encroachments are best, but either way, gives you a little bit more freedom in how you design it.
Yeah, driveways are currently allowed in the setbacks.
So,
And do you think there's going to be a lot of call for this? Is there going to be a reduce the setbacks lobby out there trying to get us to do it? What's
reducing the setbacks, I mean, we talked about it a couple of times where if we didn't change setbacks now, a 5,000 square foot lot, you have 500 square feet to build on, which you would just, by the dimensional standards of themselves, you wouldn't be able to build anything on that.
Or you just wouldn't divide your lot that small.
Right, but if that's now our minimum lot size, it's kind of a bit of false advertising. Hey, you're allowed to build 5,000 square feet, but you can't build on it.
Are you thinking don't adjust dimensional standards to a huge degree?
in some neighborhoods it would be appropriate, in others, I don't know.
I've felt similar.
And they don't all have to be the same either. We do have the freedom to
True.
say certain zones, it's the 10, 10, 15, others it's 10 all around. In other areas, maybe it's more restrictive than this.
We'd get more pushback from the neighbors who didn't want their neighbor to be closer than we would be pushback from people who thought we left the setbacks the way they were. And I'm not, I'm pro-housing. But flexibility is important too. And 5,000 square feet is not very much. Those lots on Woodstone, they're not lots because it's all condo. But I'm trying to figure out, there's their house and the grass around them.
It's like those new houses they're building on Long Sands across from the high school.
Yeah,
That's what this is gonna look like. It's just one after another where you're looking right in your next door neighbor's window.
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
And people are willing to spend over $1 million for
Right.
Woodstone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other portion of that is it's not just for a single family dwelling on that 5,000 square feet either.
That's correct. 4 dwelling units.
Yep.
Allow up to 4 dwelling units on that.
And
That's where you get the triple deckers or a combination of duplexes
or
or something
190
like
square
that.
feet.
Or 190 square feet.
Right.
There you go.
'Cause on some of
Get
these,
creative.
on some of these,
Maybe
you
it's
could
800
realistically
square
put a-
feet.
Yeah, you could put a triple decker, you could put 2 duplexes on there to get to that 4 units and have them offset in a way that you actually have the appropriate area for it. There's possible combinations of it. It's just whatever they can actually design.
Okay. What else you got?
But these are the couple that we've come up with just to get the minds rolling for discussion.
I like the visuals. They're
Yeah.
very helpful.
I think it'd be neat to see like a half-acre lot developed,
Okay.
like with
Like one
kind of the
these-
current standards,
Yeah.
with, around these setbacks, I guess.
Okay.
I had done like a quick one based off of like the average size house or dwelling unit for like a 3-family, or sorry, a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
So like 1,200 to 2,000 square feet, right? I don't know what the
This was so just
developers are
under-
gonna wanna build.
Yeah, just under a half acre. I mean, you're looking at 20,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So with our current setbacks, it's the 20, 20, 30. It's on the left. So we can try and do an analysis of what would that house look like
Yeah.
just on there, maybe even come up with some driveway calculations if we can, but they won't be engineering exact,
No, no, no.
but
I did a quick AI one, but I don't trust it yet, so.
You're saying without water sewer.
With water and sewer.
So you're saying carving up a half acre lot into
Right.
parcels.
So it's, yeah, 0.5 acres, subdivide it and build. If a developer came into town, bought a split entry ranch, tore it down and subdivided the lot and maximized their profits, what would that look like?
okay.
Yeah, with a 50-foot right-of-way, that's where the road standards can really
Right.
Derail it.
derail, I don't wanna say derail, but if you don't have a good frontage lot, uh-oh, we're losing power here.
That's unique.
A 50-foot right-of-way on one of these lots is half of the lot.
Yeah.
I'm mixing kind of like some of the Greenway standards, if it was like a parking lot behind. So it was like a, you need 2 spots per unit, right? If that parking area was behind the townhouses, you know? Well, the sketch plan that came before us was close to what I envisioned happening on a half an acre lot.
Okay.
But instead of those being single-family units, now imagine those duplexes or quadplexes.
Yeah.
The ones that came before us was duplexes.
Right. Or quadplex.
It- yeah.
So you just need double the parking. So instead of the driveway having one side, it would have
Yeah,
park.
that's a shoehorn. That's tight.
Not saying that will happen, but if there's incentive
Yeah.
for it to happen, which then brings us back to what do we feel the setbacks should feel like in a building like that?
Is it gonna depend on the neighborhood?
Right.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Goes back to the zoning of,
It does. It is the character of the neighborhood, and what that means.
Yeah.
And how do you fit it in? So, and I would say, if you look at, well, we'll do an analysis, you look at current zoning standards and the current lots within those base zoning district, most of them are non-conforming right now, anyway, period.
And that gives,
And that gives like up to 5, I think it's 5 feet or 12 to the property line. So if we use that as a metric to say, okay, these are how many non-conforming lots exist right now in your base zone in the growth area. Those people can go up to 12 feet or whatever it is based on the non-conforming standard. 5 feet, yeah, in some cases, 5
oh,
feet.
half the, right? 50%.
There's a percentage, there's a little, but they can go real close. Call it 5, whatever. It's just most of the lots in Gen 3 in York Street in these areas, those neighborhoods,
Res-
non-conforming. Res 1A, 1B, non-conforming, a lot of non-conformity that they can actually do a lot more than you think. So, as it relates to setbacks.
Yep.
The caveat there is really looking at your lot coverages, I think. 25%, that's not, I think that's
not a
gonna
lot of
have to be
coverage.
modified.
Yeah.
We've talked before about, maybe adding an LID threshold, kind of like what's in the village, where if you want to exceed it, then you're required to do some kind of landscaping or low-impact development, something to offset the stormwater. Stormwater
Yeah.
runoff.
Yes, that's right.
I hate to bring this up,
Yep.
but it's,
We're winding.
We're starting to fade, like the lights that were flickering.
Yeah, that was our warning. Move forward.
Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot. We'll work these through. Any questions you have, please, if you can direct them to me, I can try to get answers from our attorney, Mocha. If you want to reach out to Mocha, go ahead. But ideally, keep us in the loop so we're aware of what you guys are looking to find answers to, so we can do our own studies on it too.
One quick one I had was I read somewhere, and I don't know what's been corrected or not.
Yeah.
It was lots with existing dwelling units period. Like,
Existing dwelling.
so a single-family house on whatever, I felt like it couldn't do the full 4. I'm not sure if that's accurate.
If you have 5,000, density will be the density, period.
There was, I read something, it was a blurb saying if there's an existing dwelling,
Existing that they're not gonna knock down,
something like that.
yeah, so that you then have limited space
I'll have to, yeah,
If you come
around that
across it, I
house
don't-
to build.
let me know. I don't know. I'm
I thought
not-
it was, what I remember was an affordable housing. If you already have affordable housing,
That could have been what
then
it
you
was.
can't come and use the
Additional
the
bonuses.
additional bonuses that are added to it.
From LD 2003 originally, yeah. The 2.5 times the base density.
If you come across it, there's so many changes now, it's a little muddy.
Yeah, I'll look at that.
Okay. So, next up would be the election of planning board officers. So typically, you nominate individuals to, we need to do,
Really? This board has handled it as just saying,
who wants
because
it?
you have to step down for a year per home
Correct.
rule charter.
Yep.
So you can't be chair because you've done your 2-year max.
Yep.
So now there needs to be a new chair. Appointed, elected, whatever you want to say, by the planning board members. And vice chair and secretary.
So do you do a nomination process where anyone, okay.
Yeah, there could be a nomination. Usually there's a conversation of how we've done it in the past. Is this conversation, you want to do it? You want, hey, I'll do it, or, you know, but whatever you guys want to do. It hasn't been really a secret ballot or something like that, or.
Yeah.
I'd nominate Wayne for chair.
Second that, yeah, if he's willing to
If
do
you're
it.
willing.
And you don't need to second it, but, yes, I'm with you.
Do we need a vote for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask if anybody else?
Oh,
is
Yeah.
are there other nominations?
Yes. This is legal now.
No, thank you for bringing that up.
Just
Thank
trying
you
to
very
be
much.
thorough.
Don't let me hold anybody
Yeah,
back.
that's right.
Commissions.
No other
Silence
nominations
is
on the
golden.
floor?
That's right. Okay.
I was gonna say other discussion at least, so. Good.
Vote, yeah,
Crystal?
Yes.
Yes.
I vote yes. Gail?
yes.
Steve?
Oh, yes.
So 4-0 for Wayne.
Or 0-1, did Wayne abstain?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, do you vote yourself? Wayne?
You can.
We'll do everyone.
I think it's pretty clear.
All right.
5-0?
Yes.
This is
That
like-
it proves you accept
That way,
the
Yeah,
nomination.
Right, that makes more sense.
although I wasn't, blackmailed or anything,
Right.
I
So next up would be vice chair.
I nominate David Woods.
Love it.
Not opposed. Any other nominations?
No.
Crystal?
Yes.
Wayne?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes,
Steve?
Yes.
I will
David.
vote yes on that. And then secretary,
As it's called in the
Yes.
bylaws.
so we have a,
did you like doing that?
you know, I felt like Pete did it the whole time. I
So-
mean, so
Do you want a do-over?
You studied under the best.
I'm happy to do it. Do either of you want to be secretary?
Thank you, no.
Right now, it would only be between,
The two of you.
yeah,
And I know he
this
doesn't,
point.
so yes, I'd love to,
okay.
and do it,
So
do it.
no other nominations there. So, Crystal?
Yes.
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 Steve?
Yes.
I will vote yes as well.
I guess I should ask, I mean, after 2 years, do you have to rotate the secretary
I
as
think,
well?
is it just shared for 2 years?
Just chair. For the home rule charter.
Right.
The home rule charter.
As they picked on the planning board on the home rule charter.
And that's just for the planning board?
It's not for the select board,
It's interesting.
but I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing for all boards and whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah.
honestly. Term limits, all that, whatever. Sure.
Okay,
If nothing else, to just show more people how challenging it can be.
right.
That was the least contentious election I think I've ever seen.
Thank you for your 2 years of service.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
It was educational and it pushed my boundaries.
Now Wayne's back in the fire seat.
Yep.
Right.
So does Wayne take over now?
Yeah, official handoff of the gavel.
So we do have formation of work group and
Oh, actually, we haven't done minutes yet.
Well, hold on, before that,
yeah.
to replace Pete's position, what is the process to bring on another?
It's the select board's decision.
If,
I'm wondering if they need anything from the board.
yes, they have to have a recommendation that the planning board recommends alternate Crystal Tenney and/or alternate Mark Cartier to be considered as full voting members. To take, I don't know, he ran into his term limit, didn't he? So it's a vacant spot, isn't it?
So yeah, he is.
I can't remember if he
this-
quit or if he
ran
was
out
just
his-
done.
his limit.
Yeah.
That was it, and he wasn't gonna
He didn't ask for
get
reappointment.
reappointed.
Correct, and his position is considered vacant.
Yeah,
I don't
for the new vacant.
I don't think the board is expected, there's nothing in there about the board is expected to make a recommendation.
I think I talked to, I don't know, I talked to Todd, and that's kind of what the select board would be looking for. If the idea is to move a alternate into that, a recommendation to move one of the alternates into the vacant seat.
Can we just leave it at that?
And then it's up to them, it's their determination anyway. And Crystal, I think, still has to submit a application, I think, or
Copy and paste my other one.
or something, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
very, I don't know in the past, but if the recommendation is there, they'll take it up.
Yep.
And just go, and just, that's how they'll do it. So,
One
there's a recommendation there.
I'd have to abstain. You know, in my position, I don't want to make that recommendation, one way or the other.
No, of either alternate.
I know.
You don't
No,
want to
no,
say
no.
any alternate?
No, so either alternate.
Either
would be
alternate. I'm not saying,
The motion, the select board to fill the position with either alternate.
you're not picking the alternate, because I understand that uncomfortable, like,
Yeah, yeah.
discussion that could.
Yeah, okay. I
That's why they get paid the big bucks up top there.
Either one.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, you're not lobbying for one or the other.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Either one of the two.
We're recommending that one of our current alternates take Pete Smith's place,
Right.
Fill
Yes.
the vacant.
You're-
Okay.
right?
Yes, but you're asking the select board to make that decision.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to ask the select board to fill the vacant seat with one of our existing alternates.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Nope. Call for a vote. Crystal?
Yes.
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 Bill?
Yes.
Steve? Chair votes yes, 5-0. Then please
Unanimous.
pass that on.
Smooth handoff there, huh? That's nice.
That was very smooth.
Make sure to send that to Peter. I'll forget.
But we do have minutes
Yes.
of June 25th.
I did not see anything that stood out to me.
I have a couple. Anybody else have anything?
The only thing that I noted was under election of planning board officers, that Wayne was going to be named acting chair during the meeting on the 16th, and really it was if we had the meeting for July 9th. That's just a technicality, but,
I think I was named to be acting chair in the interim, because just to discuss the agenda, not to chair this meeting, but
okay,
while he was absent.
right,
That's
which
all
was
it
July 9th.
That's basically what Gail just said. But we decided to move the meeting,
Yes.
which then forego that thought or plan.
There was setting of the agenda though during that as well.
It was mentioned.
So
yes.
that offline Wayne was
Okay.
acting chair to set the
Yep.
future agendas.
All right.
So good, it's all good.
Okay. I was caught a little bit where a couple of motions were made but not continued. I didn't know if that language should stay in the minutes or,
I thought the same thing, but at the end of the day, the final motion that was made was the correct
Right.
one, so.
and if you are watching the video and
Yeah.
Yep.
you thought that's where it ended, so
Yep.
it's just something new.
Okay. Anything else on the minutes? Line 32, motion, Pete Smith moved to accept the application as complete for review. It was missing.
There you go.
Well, I
That's
thought
where
it
he
says as-
rescinded. I'm
well, it
sorry.
says as presented.
Yeah, but even as presented, as complete for review, we weren't accepting the application or approving the application. We're just saying it was accepted as complete for approval, complete for
Review.
review.
That's where, we were just kind of mentioning that, how he made the motion, but then restated it and corrected it. So then the second one on line 36 is the actual motion.
And that.
So I'm not sure if we
that
should,
still doesn't say,
It still says as presented.
oh, I see what you're saying now.
still doesn't say accept it as complete for review. Somebody who didn't know the process, read those minutes.
Thought it's
might
approved.
think that we approved it,
Right.
True.
and it wasn't.
Okay.
And I will say on lines, for some reason it jumped out at me that 77, line 77 and line 80 had a slight typo.
Clean board?
Yeah,
Oh,
so, yeah,
Correction of the last names?
correction of the last names. Any other correction? Okay. then-
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of June 25th, 2026 as amended.
Second?
And I assume you meant that we approved the minutes.
I'm sorry, approved as amended.
Okay. Moved by Gail, seconded by David. Any discussion? Call for a vote. Gail?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Crystal?
yes.
And chair votes yes, 5-0.
Beautiful.
Formation of work group, use table on the use tables.
It's an additional,
You guys want some more work? I know we started going down the road of looking at use tables, and I still think it's important to
And
do.
kind of got waylaid by the 1820.
We are gonna get waylaid by that. So I don't know, it's a planning board wants to keep that conversation, we've started the process of evaluation of use tables and consolidation and all that. I don't know if the planning board wants to form a work group and a side
It's
project.
a work group, meaning only two members don't have to post minutes or announce or schedule agendas and all that. I'd be willing to chip away at that if somebody wanted to work with me on that. We wouldn't even have to meet for most of it, just throw, go through a list as time allowed, and then bounce it against the rest. So if anybody's interested in working with that with me,
I'm not interested. My only thought would be to postpone it till after October or so. I don't want to lose any of the work that you've worked on at all. But I think we need like full throttle on everything else we got working.
Yeah, I think this would be for a November 2027 consideration. The use table.
Right. But I mean, even that needs a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, if we can get there.
Right.
The idea is the goal would be to put it for a November 2027 consideration, if we can get it through all the,
Yep.
make the sausage type thing. So I don't,
It's mostly
There's
just. going
time,
through
but
this,
it's-
Yeah.
Looking at where these two conflict, try to come up with definitions that
Consolidate some stuff.
consolidate, make it simpler, that's all.
yes, there is one use we have to, and that's the daycare thing. We have to address that immediately. But
Oh, yeah.
It's easy enough-ish.
we'll have one use
software.
changed in the whole uses. So,
So when would that start, I guess?
well, that's what I'm just saying. If you want to, it was an idea, because if it was a push, could we get this to, there's no way we can get it tomorrow. There's no way. I just don't think we can.
I guess I would want to know what the expectations are first before saying.
Yeah,
sure.
if you started after the summer and the fall on it,
After like
and
the
you're
major work of
meeting,
this is done.
you'd be meeting with staff here and there to go through the exercise of, like you do with the future land use ordinance subcommittee,
Yeah.
but no,
Yep.
no meeting, you don't have to take minutes and worry about posting, notice and stuff of the time, so.
Say,
It's pretty free flowing, but we would wanna ensure that it's consistent,
Yeah.
so we can keep moving ahead. I can't tell you the timeframe, it's really at your,
Yeah.
whatever your pleasure is.
If it's not for this upcoming like May or whatnot, then I'm game to.
Would be, I'd say, start this fall, really.
yeah,
Once we get these drafts done with the LD 18 stuff and because it's gonna take a lot of, I think, energy
Yeah.
to do it, so.
Yep.
And then I think open space conservation sub is gonna take some energy too, but,
those are higher priorities.
yep.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't mind dabbling in that as stuff
Alright.
winds
It'll-
down.
These two in the fall,
It'll be
okay?
dabbling.
We'll make note and keep that front and center in October.
Yeah, I
When,
was gonna say, I might need a reminder, but at this time, my schedule's kind of at capacity.
yeah,
I'm a glutton
Yeah,
for
it's tough.
punishment, I guess.
Well, I was gonna say, I can help out too, so.
my schedule
I
will
just am
be
trying not to have the
completely at
party of
capacity
five
in
like
October,
we-
so.
we did before. so.
Is it when multiple people are meeting at the same time, or like can it be a work group that like?
Two planning board, you could swap, we can tag out and be like,
Right.
okay, I'm out,
long as it's
next
not a
person in.
Right.
long as there's
So,
just
like,
two.
We could alternate, so multiple people could actually be working on it homework style,
Just not in the same
and
place at
then
the
like,
same.
okay,
That's
you're
right.
going, I'm out, or vice versa.
That's right.
We could even kind of put stuff, share documents and just kind of mark them up and share them and mark
You
'em
just
up.
gotta watch
one
out
more.
for the, yeah, if it's just one to one,
Yep.
that's when it gets to the.
No groups.
No groups.
Okay,
I like that idea.
ready to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
We are adjourned.
are you,